Welcome to the Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we're going to break down Fight to Win 107 in Boston, Massachusetts. It's actually in Kingsborough, but I have in my notes Boston, Kasai Pro 5, and the Quintet Fight Night 3, the females. We are also going to preview Fight to Win 108 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which I am going to, and I am very excited. On this week's show, it's me, the host, and Austin. That was the weirdest fucking way I could have said that. As always on this week's show, I'm your host, Maine, joined here with my co-host,
Austin.
How you doing, Austin?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. That's good. So we're going to get into it. Where do you want to start? We have some news. Do you have any news items for the week? This is your first time on the show, so it's always trial by fire on the first week of like, okay, this is how we do the show. This is how the format is. This is what you've got to watch. Austin came in with like 10 to 15 pages of notes.
Yeah, it's probably like closer to 20, but who's counting?
Yeah, so it's like, get ready for a professional show here. And I think I have like 3 pages of notes, but they're digital notes, so it makes it a lot easier. Austin came in with old school paper notes.
Yeah.
So before we get into all the breakdowns, let's get into some MMA news. Let's get into some grappling news. Ayrshire Grappler put out a new study this week. We're a big fan of his work. It's study on black belt CBD. It's a much longer study, so it's cool. Check it on YouTube. It's interesting. I did an interview with BJJ Strength this week. It's about a 2-hour podcast. We get into sort of a whole host of different things. I'm a big fan of their show. It was really cool to get on and talk with him for, about 2+ hours, I think is the actual episode. We talked about like performance-enhancing drugs and other stuff. Austin, what do you think? You think everyone's on drugs? Everyone's on PEDs and jiu-jitsu?
I mean, probably to some level, right? But then you get into like weird semantics, like what's really a performance-enhancing drug? Like is creatine and whey protein a performance-enhancing drug? They're dietary supplements.
And Austin just used the air quotes thing there. They're dietary supplements.
Yeah, like where do you draw the line? And then it's also, I mean, some stuff's clearly steroids. Some stuff's clearly food.
Eat trend. What's the saying? It's eat trend hard or something like that.
Dude, I don't know. I just lift up heavy stuff. I
just lift up heavy stuff. I don't lift up anything because my back's fucking broken. So that was great. I'd highly recommend you guys. If you're interested in that, check it out. Great show. I enjoyed it a lot. We kind of touched on more different topics than we typically touch on this show, but it was really interesting. Dylan Dennis is trying to have a wrestling match with Ben Askren.
For what? Like, what will that prove?
That was my thought, too. Like in my notes, it literally says, Dylan versus Ben Askren in wrestling. Who cares? Like, who does that prove?
Nothing. Like, I'd watch them in MMA, though. That'd be kind of cool.
You really think that Dennis would have a chance in MMA? Like,
no,
say what
for
you
sure
want.
not.
Say what you want about Askren, but like
he doesn't have the experience. And then I've also seen Askren roll when he was a brown belt. He was at Marcelo Garcia's for a little bit. And, like, watching roll against Marcelo, like, yeah, he got tooled like everybody else did. Yeah. But it's Marcelo, like, one of the greatest of all time. Like, the fact that he can even hang with him with, like, more of a wrestling base.
I mean, I don't really think he hung with him. Like, at one point, Marcelo choked him with his hands behind his back.
Well,
but then again, you look at the same era, like, Marcelo's crushing Orlovsky. So it's like...
In 2010, Faria won Worlds, and then there's, like, a clip of him training with Marcelo, and Marcelo's still, like, toying with him. It's pretty nuts.
It's some crazy shit. So, speaking of weird training in New York, everyone is training at DDS this week in preparation of Kasai. So there was a video, actually, there was an image that came out first. It was Buchecha, Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones, Hannibal Hall, and Felipe Pena in the blue basement. And I was like, and it came out on April Fool's. I was like, that's a real photo. That's not a Photoshop. That's not a joke. That's a real photo. And I was like, oh, they're for sure. They're all in Kasai, so that makes sense. But like, they're for sure doing ADCC prep as well now.
Yeah, it's really cool to see them all training together, but also a little odd, I think. Like, how much coaching are they really going to get from Danaher if Gordon Ryan's also going to be at the same event? And he's defending ADCC this year too, right?
Yeah, well, if his knee heals.
Right.
Which he said it's going to heal, and I think, honestly, given the length of time that he has, it's September.
Okay.
Like, I got to buy my tickets again. I realized I got to do that today. By the time this show's come out, I'm going to have rebought my tickets for ADCC because they got refunded, and I just haven't got on buying tickets again.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I don't know how long term they'd actually start training there. I think
they're just. Right? I think they were just there for Kasai, basically, because they were all in town for Kasai. But it was interesting because Buchecha wasn't on Kasai. So
yeah,
I don't know why he'd be in town, but he's probably in town with one of the other guys that was on the card.
Well, it was a 205 bracket, right? So like, I don't know if he would make that weight.
No, God no.
Yeah,
he's not making 205.
No,
he's plus 99. He's been plus 99 since plus 99 existed.
Right.
Like forever. So that was interesting. Let's see what else I got. Oh yeah, so in other wrestling news, Ben Askren and Jordan Burroughs have agreed to wrestle at an upcoming event in, I want to say it's like Beat the Streets, I think is what it was, which is a famous wrestling event. Let's see. Yeah, they on Madison Square Garden on May 6th. You know more about Jordan Burroughs than I do. I know that he is a wrestler.
Yeah, he's like a nasty Olympic wrestler. He has a really good double leg takedown, which is kind of nuts at that high of a level. Yeah, I don't know a ton. I don't want to make it seem like I'm like the wrestling guy because I'm super not.
Yeah, I'm going to default to you there because I'm definitely not the wrestling guy.
Yeah, he's at like I think he's taken Olympic gold. And I've just seen some like training videos because I'm like a huge conditioning nerd. So I've seen like crazy plyometric videos that he puts out where he's doing a push up into like a box jump and then back down before I can like process what he just did.
Jesus. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if because actually they go against each other. That'd be really interesting. I don't follow wrestling a ton, but it's always cool to see guys at the top level and like Askren going back and doing some wrestling.
Yeah.
Especially now that he's in the UFC.
Yeah.
So I thought that was newsworthy this week. We don't usually cover wrestling because I don't know anything about it, but we do occasionally. So, and I also went to Shogun Fights this weekend, and I was able to see a split draw live.
Yeah, before the show, we talked about it and had to decide, like, what does that mean exactly? Because I'm pretty stupid. So it was like, man, what's a unanimous? Is there a unanimous draw? There's a majority draw?
There's three kind of draws you can have. You can have a unanimous draw, which is all three judges give it draw, 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 which is like 29-29 or 28-28. Across the board, or whatever, 27-27 across the board. And then you can have a majority draw, which is somebody gives it to one fighter, and then two other judges give it as a draw and a draw. But a split draw is the coolest of the draws because it means one judge gave it a draw, and then one judge gave it to fighter A, and then one judge gave it to fighter B. So I got to see that live at the Shogun Fights for the 205 title.
I'm glad you clarified. Super not confusing at all.
Yeah, it's probably works even better in audio format. I think the first Woodley versus Wonderboy fight was a majority draw.
Right. So two draws, and then one judge gave it to
Woodley. So. It may have been a split draw.
Okay.
But I remember there was a draw, and it was super crazy. And it's like I've never seen a draw live ever, and that was the first draw I saw, and it was a split draw. I was like, it's one of the most. If you look at like tables of MMA like results, split draw is like 0.01% of all results ever. It's like it's so hugely rare. So it was cool to see one of those live. And all the hundreds of fights.
What were the fighters' reactions? Just like meh.
I mean, honestly, the first round you could give it 10-8, and then the next two rounds were like close rounds, but you probably give it like 10-9 to the other fighter. And so, in my eyes, I was yelling at Rachel and the people I was with. I was like, "It's gonna be a draw! It's gonna be a draw!" And then it was a draw, and I yelled a lot because I was correct for once. I don't get the opportunity to be correct a whole lot.
Gotta take those opportunities, especially if your girlfriend's around. But
I was yelling about it. I was like, it should be a draw. It should be a draw. And everyone's like, it won't be a draw. And then it was a fucking draw. And I called it. So I was super happy about that. I think the only other piece of news I have is Black Belt CBD is running the 20 days of 420. So they discounted a bunch of their products to 420. And they're running a different product like every couple days. So that's really cool considering a lot of the stuff runs from like $30 to $50.
Right.
So it's really cool. It's that heavily discounted. They are a cool company. I met some of the guys up at Bethlehem, PA. At Finishers MMA and 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu up there, and super cool. I saw Anna Carolina Vieira up there as well. She did some technique demonstration right after Black Belt CBD, the big tournament. So that was cool. So it's really cool that they're running that, and they're so heavily involved in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think there's a couple local guys who are sponsored by them, if I'm not mistaken.
Do you know who?
Ataij.
Okay.
For GF Team.
Yeah. I
think he's sponsored by them. I've seen him in some rash guards and stuff.
Sweet.
But
that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know who locally is sponsored by them, but it was cool. It's cool that they're running stuff at such a hugely discounted rate for 420 because it's a CBD product.
Right, yeah.
So I think that's all I got for news. Do you have any news this week?
No, that sounds good, man.
All right, let's move on to the next segment then. So on to our recap of Kasai Pro 5. This event featured an 8-man, 205-pound tournament, a number of undercard matches, and some super fights. Where do you want to start with this, Austin?
Let's start with the groups.
Okay. So Kasai, much like Copapodia, runs this in a very specific way. It's an 8-man tournament, and so in Group A you have 4 grapplers, in Group B you have 4 grapplers, and they kind of make this clear in the broadcast, but if you're watching individual matches, you might have missed this.
Yeah, I super missed it. I was maybe halfway through when I thought it was single man elimination, just like most tournaments.
Oh, so you got super confused, like, wait, this guy's already fought.
Yeah, and then the announcers were like, oh, they're kind of just fighting for honor because they won't have enough points. And I was like, points? Oh, okay. So then I understood, but at first it was
that was the Jackson Souza match versus Arujo, right?
Yeah.
I think so. And at that point, it was like, all right, both guys don't have enough points to win. So basically, what happens is everyone from Group A fights against everyone. So each person has 3 matches against the people in Group A. People in Group B, everyone has 3 matches against the rest of the people in Group B, and then the people with the most points. And so a draw is 0 points per person. A win by points, so they use like IBJJF scoring with no advantages. A win by points, I think, is 1, 2.
I don't really know what the point shakeout is, but it's exactly how you think it would be hierarchy-wise. Like a sub is the most.
Yeah, and then a sub is worth. I know/think a sub is worth 3 points. So if you sub like 2 guys in your bracket in a format like this, you're probably going to fucking win and go to the finals. Right. So the people who have the most points after that round robin stage go into the finals and the basically consolation bracket. So the first place winner goes against the first place winner from Group A or from Group B, and then the second place guy goes against the second place guy from Group A and B. And so that's how it works. And so if you watch the individual matches, this makes a lot more sense now. But this is how Kasai runs it. This is how Podia runs it. And this is how I think a couple other organizations are starting to use this as well. Yeah. I kind of like it because you get to see, especially with a card this stacked, you get to see a bunch of super fights.
Yeah, I definitely liked it after I figured out what was going on. It kind of gets rid of that like MMA grappling math. We're like, well, this guy beat this guy, but the third guy beat the guy that won.
Right.
It like there's none of that because it's round robin.
And half your guys, like, okay, I saw the matchup. Like I know had this guy drawn this guy. Like it eliminates half of that at least, as opposed to like because running an 8-man round robin is like ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
And like you have enough guys to make it really interesting where it's like some different style matchups, some different levels of guys. Like we saw Felipe Pena, we saw Tex Jhonson, Craig Jhonson, Kaynan Duarte, like guys that are really high level staples that are all going to be in ADCC. And we saw a couple of them get to match up against each other, and it eliminated that, like, well, he drew Pena in the first round. Like, of course he's going to win. So I like this format a lot for that reason. So let's start with the beginning. Let's start with Felipe Pena versus, I'm going to fuck this guy's name up. And if anyone's ever listened to this show, I am not the name guy. Austin, you good at names?
Not great, no.
Oh, we're fucked this week. So, and Valir Arujo.
I think it's
Valdir
Araujo? Because there's like an ARA, but man, fuck if I know.
What do you want to call him? Valdir?
Let's call him Valdir. That's probably the easiest way to say his name.
So Felipe Pena versus Valdir. Valdir was the late replacement for
Rustam
Chiziev.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that how you say it? This is bad already.
See, you just confused me with having this say. So
Rustam.
I was really impressed here with Valdir because he immediately comes out and goes to the single on Pena. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, he scored 1 point off of that. Because that's also an interesting thing with the rule set. It's like, if you don't settle position, it's almost the same as an ad, right? Like you score 1 point for making their butt touch, or if you were going to get the position, but you go off the mat or something, you get 1 point, which I think is kind of cool.
I like it because it makes guys so they can't run out of stuff. Like it does kind of penalize in the form of points. Like a guy has a close submission attempt, cool, you get a point for that. Or like a submission attempt that like requires defense and it being addressed is really what they look at. Like it seems like if a guy had to change his position and address the submission attempt that you were putting in, you get a point for that if the guy escapes. So I like that because there was a couple matches that you start to see guys like kind of trade positions back and forth and start to rack up some points. But it's like, oh snap, like this guy has a pass, but the other guy has 2 submission attempts. So it's like it's a much closer match than like, cool, the guy passed the guard and he's up 3 points. You know, the other guy can actually, it incentivizes the positional changes as well as like a guy can throw up submission attempts.
Yeah, threats matter.
And be earning points. So I like that. We've seen previous Kasais that kind of be less scoring and not a lot of submissions, but this Kasai, I think partially given the level of guy that they had, we saw a lot less like slow, grindy, like slow matches. A lot of guys were throwing up sub attempts and really getting those points.
Right, for sure.
So this match was a lot of fun. I was really impressed. Immediately, Valdir shoots for that, and Pena like does not want to give up points and just rolls through. And I was really impressed with the roll through. And he does give up the 1, but he doesn't give up the 2 there.
Yeah, I saw there's a point where Pena could have scored a couple of 1-pointers. That's kind of the drawback to 1 point scoring because it's like it's super subjective, right? Like it's pretty much an ad. That's what an ad would be in IBJJF.
Yeah.
So it's super subjective, which is good because that kind of makes it more of like a sporty kind of feel. And it's more entertaining for the crowd because things are always happening.
Yeah. You're like, oh, is he going to get the point? Is he not going to get the point? Did the refs think that was far enough? And I hate that, but I like that. I'm not a big fan of rules that are ambiguous, but from a spectator perspective, like it does get me engaged. Like, oh, did I think that was points or not? So like, I do kind of like that. It involves, as a viewer, it involves me a little more because I'm wondering like, hey, would I give him an ad there? Would I give him a point there? Do I think that was a legit submission attempt? So I did kind of like that.
Yeah, shout out to the announcers for the card too because they were on it. It was like, well, they gave him 2 here because he would have come up on top. There was like a point and we'll get to this obviously, in one of Edwin Najmi's matches where he didn't get scored on 2 points once when he ran out of bounds, but did get scored on twice, or did get scored 2 points on when he did another time. But they explained the difference between the two positions, and that was really awesome.
Dude, the commentary, you got a lucky fucking week, by the way.
Yeah.
We had 3 events with 3 amazing commentary teams.
Sure.
It's not like this every week.
Oh, I'm aware.
You deal with some commentary. Dude, we had Quintet commentary was amazing, as always. Kasai commentary was amazing, as always. Fight to Win commentary was amazing, as usually.
Yeah.
Depends. Sometimes Fight to Win can get some local guys, but like, dude, I think Regular Buddha was on commentary this week for Fight to Win.
It was really good.
Dude, on the East Coast events, that dude is a master of commentary. Yeah. So you got 3 events this weekend that were like top of the chain commentary.
I lucked out.
So Felipe Pena takes this match. Do you have any other notes? Do you have any more notes on that?
I think that's all I really wrote.
All right. So next match we got Tex Jhonson versus Jackson Souza, and Tex grabs the feet hardest. Like, dude, Tex always he just the match starts and that dude is gonna close the distance and run at you and grab at you, get contact and sit.
Right.
And like that's what he wants.
I think that's really cool. Like, that's what really helped out Tex in this match. Like in this rule set, it's like, well, if legitimate submission attempts are points, that's so much better for him in this rule set that he can compete with some of these like IBJJF, take you down and stall kind of guys.
Because he grabbed the foot. I mean, you saw him grab the foot, and then he did the same thing he did to Matt Layton. He grabbed the foot and just starts selling out on the ankle lock.
Right.
And Souza is able to get kind of up and start defending it a little more. But you see Tex, like, he keeps getting points for this ankle lock attempt.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I've seen him like, fuck, dude's ankle's up before, so you know it's like,
it's a legit threat.
Yeah, it's a legit threat. And eventually he gets the 50-50 there.
Yeah.
And I actually had to watch it twice because the commentary missed it and I missed it.
Yeah. So he got an inside heel hook. It looked a lot like that Gordon Ryan heel hook after like that 90-minute match with Keenan Cornelius.
Yeah.
Like a few years
ago.
It
also kind of looked like the Cyborg heel hook that he hit on ADCC, where he just kind of like locks it up and grabs, and the guy knows he's beat.
Yeah.
And like there's not a huge level of defense there.
Yeah. Apparently it was a scream tap from Jackson Souza too.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
This will come up later when talking about Tex Jhonson.
Yeah. He looked like disappointed. Like, well, hey, like I know I tapped verbally, but fuck. Like, yeah. He looked legitimately disappointed in himself and in the match, but man, he looked good up until that point.
Yeah, he was defending it well, but Tex just like that. Do not let that dude grab your feet.
Yeah.
Like, because other guys will hurt you. Tex Jhonson will break you.
Right.
So next match we had Craig Jones versus Pedro. What's his last name? Ardujo, I think is what I have.
Wait, who are we looking at? Pedro Marino.
Yeah, see, this is why I have notes in digital, because I can scroll. Austin is here. He looks like he's the conspiracy theory nerd. He has like papers strewn about the desk all around
like that meme from the guy from It's Always Sunny.
Oh yeah, he's looks crazy and he's like pointing at the. Austin, I think you have like what, like 8 pieces of paper laid out in front of you, and I'm jumping around in the order that I'm looking at, but your notes are in a separate order.
Yeah, but I have to like take time to like actually read what I wrote and try to figure it out. Like, apparently AB is armbar. Who knew?
Yeah, that's where shorthand notes are. Like, if you look at my notes ever, it's just spelling errors on spelling errors and like guys' names spelled horribly incorrect. 'Cause I'm watching it live, and so I'm like trying to type a guy's name while I take notes on the match, because we have a very limited time before when the show comes out to like get the notes together.
Right.
So this match, this is Craig Jones versus Pedro.
Yeah.
No, nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean, but you got to kind of look at the level. Like, Pedro's a purple belt, apparently.
Yeah.
And he's going against Craig Jones, who's, I don't know.
A monster?
A beast. Like, I'm kind of impressed. I mean, it wasn't that necessarily that entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
But when you look at, like, the level, it's like, I don't know. That's pretty impressive. A purple belt, I mean, I'm a purple belt. I wouldn't have lasted 10 minutes with Craig Jones.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Now, I'm also a child-sized adult, so that's also probably why.
That probably
this is a 205-pound man that was gonna. It's a black belt and ADCC veteran that beat Leandro Lowe. Like, he's gonna kill me.
Probably.
He beat Tim Spriggs like 2 weeks ago.
He did.
Like, that's always. I love jiu-jitsu math because it's always like okay, you always think of like the guys that guys beat. I'm like, oh, could I beat that guy? No. It's like then that guy can beat me.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah. It was one of those weird situations where Craig kept sitting. He wanted to get to a leg entanglement. And Pedro kind of knew better, so he kind of stayed back, kind of looked to pass when he could, but couldn't really get anything going without engaging. So
never really like committed super hard to the passing. And Craig stood. They kind of went back and forth, but no action. Scoreless draw.
Right.
So next match we had Kaynan Duarte versus Thor Blank. So I wish they would use the full names and the full like description, because you can see in the background of this event, they have a full like screen up that has like the name with the country of origin, with the ads of the penalties, and they have on the broadcast, they have like the abbreviated name, which just said in quotes
Thor, John Thor,
J period Thor. And I was like, well, I know who that is. And I would honestly prefer the guy's nickname over just like letter and then last name, or letter and then middle name, which is always the
IBJJF does that sometimes.
Dude.
And I'm like, who in the world is Rafael Godoy? Oh, Rafa Mendez, got it.
Yeah, they used Fionn Davies' middle name. It was
really?
like .f, and it was like her middle name starts with an E, and I was like, why would you use that name?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, unless I'm looking at a results page, because like even in the registration lists that they have like for like competitors, they don't write the middle name out. So I'm like, I know that's her because I recognize her face, but I can't, like, if I'm looking at the names, I can't tell. So I wish they would just use the full names.
Sure.
It's 2019. We have the technology. I can also see it on the broadcast that they have it written for the people in the arena.
Kind of, and this is not a knock on the event, but that was kind of distracting because sometimes the clocks wouldn't sync up and my OCD was going nuts. So it'd be like,
oh, you noticed that?
You didn't notice that?
Not at all, man.
So there's like 10 minutes. So I don't know. The matches are 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then on the interface screen, the one that you're looking at, it would say like 5:40 something. And then in the background, you see it's like 9:40 something. And then they're off by a few seconds. That's probably just a me thing. I wouldn't worry about it.
You're super OCD, which is partially why like we all decided like Austin would be a good fit for the show. He's really OCD and will take good notes and actually pay attention and analyze matches. So
you're regretting it? Or you're now like,
oh fuck no. Like dude, I am partially OCD. I'm OCD for like this show comes out at midnight on Monday. Like it will get out. Come hell or high water, it will come out. Like I'm OCD for that stuff. It's like I will make a post on Tuesday about the show. Like I'm super anal about that stuff.
Yeah.
But like names and times, like not your guy. So this match, Kaynan Duarte versus Thor Blank. This is really interesting because we saw John is much more of the submission-only guy, you know, EBI format. And so moving into a much more IBJJF point-scoring format, it was interesting to see him, like, see how he's going to do.
Yeah. And I mean, Duarte's an Atos guy, so he's used to that IBJJF format.
And he's dude, he's on his way to a Grand Slam this year. He's a Pans champion. He's a Euros champion. Like, he's a monster. He almost beat Gordon Ryan in Nogi Pans. Like, monster.
So, all of the scoring, it was pretty one-sided scoring-wise for Duarte, but, I mean, he kind of does the same meta game that, like, if you're young and athletic, that body lock pass where you step over the far knee, like, that's what scored him the 3 points. It's kind of like, I don't know. You're looking at me, giving me weird eyes.
No, I'm looking at my notes and trying to like recall. Like, my notes have like a few lines on like the ending score, and like you're walking through actual technical information about the match, which my notes don't have.
Gotcha.
And basically, I want to talk about his body lock passing because he does this. And really, now that we've seen more of Duarte at the black belt level, like. We're seeing there's like different schools of passing, and Duarte is definitely like a body lock pressure pass kind of guy, and he's a guy that will like grab that from the guard or from really whatever position, even standing, and like use the drag downs from the body lock.
Yeah.
And he body lock passes John's guard here, his butterfly guard, and it was really interesting because a lot of guys will actually have to uncommit their hands to do this, but there's certain guys that, again, like you said, are young and athletic. They could continue to get past with the hands clasped from those positions.
Yeah, it's kind of like a, what's it called? Like a toesy pass in the gi.
Yeah.
But for no gi, it makes a lot more sense because you don't really need an underhook. So it's like, I don't know, I think Gordon Ryan does a similar pass. I think Craig Jones does a similar pass.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of like pretty lean and long, like it makes sense to be able to step your knee over their knee and then hip flop. And I think the Mendez brothers are probably pretty good at it too, if I had to guess.
Yeah. They do some body lock passing. I think, I want to say Lovato does it as well.
Makes sense.
There's like all those longer, lankier guys.
Yeah.
But Duarte, I don't really see him as a long, lanky guy unless
he's pretty stocky.
Is he?
But he trains at Atos, which is kind of that same kind of game.
Yeah. Which are those young pressure, like the pressure passer athletic guys.
Right, exactly.
So really impressive. He wins the match. Eventually, he actually, a really cool sequence is he arm drags to the mount.
Yeah,
basically.
I think what happened, I kind of paused and like played a bunch of times to kind of slow-mo it for myself. He goes for the arm drag, and I think Thor was doing the same thing on the opposite arm. So he kind of like slips into the arm drag, and his momentum kind of carried him down. But man, what a heads-up thing by Duarte to like just jump right to mount right off of it.
It was crazy to watch him like have the positional awareness to just go like, oh shit, I'm getting arm dragged. Like I'm gonna counter arm drag, or like John's gonna counter arm drag, and then jump straight to mount there. Right. So dude, really impressive performance from Duarte. Like first, he's been a black belt for 8 months.
I didn't know that.
Actually, I think John's been a black belt for like 6 or I know both these guys got their black belt this year. I know John got it after Combat Jiu-Jitsu 185.
Okay.
So, like, that's crazy.
Right.
But
it was an awesome match.
These guys are brand new black belts, and Duarte is just a monster. So that was that match. Duarte takes it 11-0. Next match we have, what are we calling this guy?
Let's just call him Valdir.
Valdir.
That's the easiest way.
Valdir Araujo versus Tex Jhonson. Tex Jhonson inverts a lot, and it's always really impressive to see that from a big guy. It honestly reminds me a lot of Cyborg Abreu when he used to play a lot more of the tornado guard like a while ago before he just kind of stopped doing that. I think he got a little older and just like it was difficult on his body to do. He still inverts, but I do like that Jhonson is one of the few guys just like with the ease that he can just fold his body over and especially at 205 invert the way he does. And we saw that on display during this match.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, like to have a game that's so specific. But then at some point, I mean, it seems like guys just kind of avoid you, and you kind of see some of that in this match where it wasn't a ton of scoring. I mean, the scoring all came from sub-attempts, it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean, it was at the end of the match, it was 1-1, it was a draw. Like,
right.
That means that each person had a submission attempt in the match. And it's like, so there was, you get a flavor for what was happening during the match.
Right. It's not a knock on him at all because, man, he's super dangerous. If you're in his open guard, like, you hang out there, you're going to get submitted.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, if guys just keep clearing the knee line and kind of just like hand fighting, it's not that exciting to watch. But it's a pretty tight game. Like, if you look at all the Danaher guys who kind of uncovered how impressive leg locks could be, how powerful they could be, I mean, it's a solid game to play, especially with these submission-only events. Yeah.
Oh, this match was really, really funny that happened during this match. At 5:50, you go back and watch just the replay, not the event replay, but just the match replay between Valdir and Tex Jhonson. At 5:58, there is a cursor, like a mouse cursor, that goes across the screen in a big C motion. That's not relevant to the match at all. I just thought it was really funny. I showed it to Austin, and I showed him like 4 times. He's like, I was like, there's a mouse on the screen. And he was like, I don't see it. And then I realized that you told me, basically, like, I don't see what you're talking about. Like, it's not running across the mat. I went, oh, I mean like a cursor mouse.
Yeah.
Not like an animal mouse. And then I paused the skin. Austin was like, oh, I see it now.
Yeah. It would have been way more cool if there was an actual mouse.
Actual mouse running across the screen. So that's that match. Next match, we have Pena versus Souza. And Souza gets basically penalties and gives Pena a point coming into this. Souza, we see him in the reverse De La Riva guard.
De La Riva, dude.
What'd I say?
I said De La Riva.
Did I?
Do you even do jiu-jitsu?
I mean, not right now because my back's broken.
I mean,
but I
you
talk
know what
about
De La Riva is.
Yeah, I know De La Riva.
You have a podcast about jiu-jitsu.
It's listed as DLR in my notes, and I just read it in my head phonetically, and that's wrong.
Start writing DLH.
Oh, that'll be super confusing. That won't make any sense to me. So he throws the De La Riva, and he completely lost my place in my notes now. And he throws it, he inverts, comes up. Jackson throws a tight heel hook at that position. He gets a point basically for the submission attempt. Pena comes up for 2 points, and the scoreboard is all like during this match is still kind of fucked up, and it was confusing. And basically, Pena is able to get a win on points for this. They seem to sort out the scoreboard issues sort of after at this point moving forward, but there's a couple matches. I think even the Tex Jhonson match, there was some funny items with the scoreboard where they were scoring it for the opposite person and then taking it back and putting it back on. And so this match got a little confusing to watch. The commentary's still up with it and kind of explaining what's happening. And that was, again, you talked about it earlier.
Yeah, there's kind of like some recurring issues with the flow grappling interface clock and scoring versus the actual event scoring that was in the physical location of like the mat and the competitors. So, I mean, it's not a big takeaway for the event, but it does get kind of confusing at times. Yeah. And again, shout outs to the announcers for staying on top of it.
Dude, that was so great. There was so many times where I was like, okay, the commentators were keeping me straight. Okay, I'm seeing the correct thing. I understand the correct thing. I'm just looking at something that's different than like what I've processed in my head.
Right.
So next match we have Kaynan Duarte versus Pedro. What's how do you say his name? Mourinho, I think. Mourinho. Okay, I've written it out phonetically in my notes, but it's got a red underline under it, so it always makes me concerned. Duarte gets a point for basically. So they're standing. Duarte, and this is where they kind of didn't explain the rules a little bit. Duarte gets a point, and the commentators said that he got the point for forcing back exposure, basically, and that was interesting. Basically, he gets on the out of bounds. If basically because Pedro had to turn his back to escape, that he was able to get a point for that.
Yeah, that's kind of where the subjective 1 point versus 2 point stuff kind of takes over. It's like, again, similar in a match that we saw before. It's like you give your backup because it's like you would have given your backup because you turned away from him. It's kind of like an almost who knows what would have happened in a scramble.
It's an ad.
Kind
They
of
basically are giving a point for an ad.
Exactly.
And I do like that because it makes those positions where you would give up the ad like disadvantageous. Because most of the guys, like, you give up an ad unless the match is super tightly contested. It doesn't usually really matter.
Yeah.
But giving up a point is a big fucking deal. And so I like this because when a guy either makes a mistake or gets a dominant position or gets something going, that one point can be a real deciding factor. So I like this rule format, this kind of take on the rules better than I thought I would.
Yeah,
and like
I would like the out of bounds stuff to be a little more clarified, but
out of bounds always gets screwy.
I do agree with what you're saying. In theory, like 1 point shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be like an ad can matter if it's 2-2 because then it's like, well, he almost did something more than I almost did something. It's like, no, have this in your head that someone exposes your back, you got scored on.
Yeah, and I like it because it makes the fuck ups really matter.
For sure.
And there's an importance to, like, okay, you go out of bounds on, like, you're defending out of bounds, like, the guy gets a point for that.
Right.
It's like it's good. The out of bounds, every rule set always has weird out of bounds rules.
For sure.
And it's so hard to adjust. Quintet actually had a giant mat space this time.
They did. But they also had some weird out of bounds stuff. We'll get into that when we talk about it. But.
Yeah, that'll be the next event we cover. So I literally missed in my notes. Oh yeah, so basically back and forth. Mozinho gets a point for a wrist lock attempt here.
Mourinho.
What'd I say?
Mozinho something? I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
Get it together, man.
Name. We need a designated name. We just need a guy on the team that can just do names. Like, doesn't know jiu-jitsu, just can read names. We just point to him and he just says the name.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Yeah. So basically, Duarte scores on a body lock double. And again, we talked about it earlier in an earlier match. Duarte really works heavy off that body lock for takedowns and for passes. And he's able to go basically from the guard and all the way and passing it to mount with that body lock attack. And it's just really good. They go with footlock attempts, but Duarte's able to take it 11-1. Again, just really impressive performance from Duarte. Just the control and the basically only way Pedro's able to get the point is off that one standing wrist lock attempt.
Yeah, he plays a really tight game, and he plays really smart. Like, he doesn't play in the danger areas of where his opponents are strong, and then he uses that IBJJF background to really score and rack up a lot of points on guys.
Yeah, and he capitalizes on, like, little mistakes.
Right.
Like, able to go, like, to the whole sequence from, like, the guard to mount. Is like you're able to get the pass points and the mount points in one go, and it's just like really impressive. He does that a couple times throughout this tournament, and it's like again that IBJJF like getting to mount is such a big deal, and he knows that. And he's able to just like kind of bypass the intermediary steps on guys and get right there.
Right.
So on to the next match, we have Thor Blank versus, and I had a Jones, but Craig Jones. This is a fun match. So John sits to his butt, and this happens a couple times with Thor. He keeps like getting scored on with the sweep because he keeps sitting back during these positions. Like he gives up the sweep point. So both guys sit and then Craig will come up and John will be sitting. Or John will be in the passing position, he'll sit to his butt and then Craig will come up. And like in IBJJF rule scoring, that counts as a sweep.
Yeah.
And it happened a couple of times in this, and I wasn't exactly sure why John kept giving up the points. If he's really just hunting for the sub, which this comes up in a later match with John.
Yep. If
he's just hunting for the sub, and that's sort of part of his game plan. But in Craig Jones, you saw was able to repeatedly capitalize on this tendency that John has to sit back and to like sit onto his butt, and it was really an interesting dynamic back and forth.
Yeah, even if you're a submission guy first, you would think that just from a strategy standpoint, it's like, man, now I'm going to be down by a ton of points, and I got to make this last-ditch effort for another sub.
Right.
Even if you sub guys off your back, like that's not a great strategy because then you're kind of playing catch-up if you don't sub the guy.
But he does later.
Does.
It'll come up later.
Spoiler alert.
So spoiler alert. Yeah, I mean it does work out for him in a later match. Let's see. It was really, the takeaway from this match was the points. I was just really surprised that you saw John kind of giving those points away to Craig, especially because Craig is like a guy that we don't see his passing game a ton, but he's really, really good. Eventually, he's able to pass. He's able to get past the guard. He's able to get to the back as John is standing up, and we just see some just beautiful back work from Craig here. And Craig is super flexible. We saw this. We've seen this, I mean, all the time from Craig Jones whenever he grapples. But we saw this particularly in the Tim Spriggs match where when Emil and I were breaking down the match at Grappling Industries with Tim Spriggs and Craig Jones, how dexterous he is with his legs and how high he can get his legs up. So when Craig Jones is on the back, we see a lot of his torso and like chest super high on John's shoulders, and he's able to actually use that to kind of do the DDS style arm trapping. And interesting enough, when during the pre-show for Kasai, basically Craig Jones is now out of Renzo's and M1A.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense when you look at all of the body triangle rear naked choke finishes.
Yeah,
it makes so much more sense. They do the same trapping sequence where they go to like that rock climber, try to grab the far shoulder, trap the arm with the body triangle, and then finish with a neck crank. It makes so much more sense.
Yeah. So we saw some really dynamic back work from Craig. He's holding the back. He transitions like over from the arm, and it's just go back. Actually, I would highly recommend go back and watch this finishing sequence because it's just amazing to watch how Craig is able to control John in this position. Because John is, I mean, all the 10th Planet guys, like they're familiar with the back escape game, like especially because John is a CJJ EBI champion. Like he has drilled the back escape game. Like that's a hallmark of all the 10th Planet guys. So to have him be controlled like Craig Jones in this position was just amazing. Craig Jones is also doing the Wagner with the smother on the face.
Oh, was he? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's really quick. He only does it for like a little bit, but you can see him kind of adjusting the face. We saw Craig do it at Quintet as well. And so I think Kasai still allows that because I didn't hear anything from the commentary from the ref. They basically indicated that was not allowed. Some places are starting to ban it. What do you think about that?
I think muffling is okay. If you're going to allow neck cranks, I feel like you should allow it.
Well, you put those two in the same vein?
Sort of. I mean, one's a sub and one's not. But I feel like getting your face covered.
Like they're both a sub. Like if you can smother a guy along, like do you think like what's it called, like mother's milk? What's
that?
The fat guy choke with the chest where you chest him in the face?
Oh, I never heard anybody call it.
Yeah, it's I know it is mother's milk. Thanks, Matt Saucier, for explaining that one to me.
That's funny.
Or like it's like a smother. It's a smother choke.
Yeah.
With the chest. Do you think that should be legal?
I don't think it should be illegal.
So in my eyes, it's the same thing as a face smother, where it's like
I'm not like a big pain compliance guy, but if you can't breathe, how's that different than if I wrap my arms around you?
Right, and that's my thought. That's why, like, I'm not happy that people are starting to ban the Wagner smother.
Yeah.
Or what does he call it? He calls it like the Burmese python or something. He's got some name for it. I forget what he calls it.
I've always just called it muffling from like wrestling. But
did you wrestle?
No.
Oh, I didn't.
Just from guys who wrestle.
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah, I think it should be legal.
But like, if it gets to the level, I'm not of the mind where like anything that chokes someone or cuts off their breathing should be legal, because I don't think you should be able to pinch someone's nose either. But
really?
No.
That's reason. That's like small joint manipulation almost.
Right.
It's kind of in the same vein.
Right, but if you're covering their face, I don't know. How's that any different?
I don't think it is any different.
Yeah.
It's just interesting because I've not had you on the show before. You've not been on the show before, not been part of the team before.
Right.
You're just coming on now. I always like to do a good metric for like how everyone on the team feels about certain positions, and like smothering is something we've seen really come to the forefront recently. So I didn't know what your thoughts are.
Things like in MMA, it's like foot stomps. It's like, should foot stomps be legal? Yeah. Would I foot stomp somebody? Probably not. But
see, this is everything I realized, like, everyone on our show is way better person than I am. I'm like, is it legal? Can I hurt? Yeah, definitely I will do it. Like, slams, like, suplex. I'm all like, definitely, yes.
Yeah, typically I don't think stuff like that will change the course of the match.
Ian McCall talks about that. No, not to get complete non sequitur here, but we're going to.
Whatever.
And an earlier, he talks about it, may have been on Rogan years ago, talking about foot stomps. And he goes, a lot of guys will have a gentleman's rule not to foot stomp because it's not really going to change the course of the match, and you just break a guy's foot.
Yeah,
because it's not going to, you're not going to damage him enough to like stop the match, but you're just going to break his foot.
Yeah,
that's
like,
a
good
cool
point. I never considered that. Like with the adrenaline dump, maybe you'll still keep going if you have a broken digit, but then now I'm injured and can't train after the fight.
And I think it was McCall that was talking about it. Like a guy like guys almost in the back will agree, like, we're not foot stomping. Okay, we're not foot stomping.
That makes sense. When it's your career, that makes a lot of sense.
I get it, but I'm totally going to like foot stomp a guy.
Yeah, I think
it's
like, maybe more of a theoretical. I give it a thumbs up just because it's part of the sport. Like I want to see what stuff works.
So,
but I'm also not getting my feet stomped. So.
Oh yeah, dude, I got the top ligament of my foot cranked with a toe hold, and I like either sprained it or like popped it.
Right.
Back when I was like a white belt, and I had to wrap my foot for like 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, I've eaten some pretty nasty ankle locks and toe holds, but we don't look at those the same way. I don't know, man. Now I'm back to my original point.
Now we're in a semantic argument. So but again, back to the end of this match, Craig
Yeah.
Jones gets a beautiful rear naked choke through an outstanding transition. Highly recommend you go back and watch the transition sequence here, because given we've seen how good we've seen John at escaping the back, and given how good Jones has looked on the back, this is a match to go back, a piece of a match to go back and watch. Highly recommend it. So now we've completely non sequitur for 15 minutes. Back to the real thing, jiu-jitsu. What's the fuck is we calling this guy again?
Valdir Araujo.
Valdir. So Valdir versus Jackson Souza. Souza scores on 2 points on a sweep. At this point, actually, I'm in my notes. I have like commentaries doing a really well job, really good job.
Yeah.
And this is the point that actually they talk about that Jackson's not able to win because of the points deficit that he has.
Right.
And this is the match that also they keep wrapping Jackson's foot. And I can't figure out what's wrong with this foot. It's like bleeding or something.
I think it's bleeding. I want to say his big toe was bleeding, and he kept trying to overwrap it, and then I don't know, because it kind of kept coming up through other matches too.
Yeah, this match and the next match he's on is he keeps having to wrap his foot because it's bleeding, and it's bleeding, and it's bleeding. But it's like, man, it's New York. They've already tested for Hep C and everything else because everyone needed blood work for this match.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about that? Guys having to get blood work for grappling.
I don't think it makes a big difference in their performance, so I don't mind it.
So you think it's good? Because we see guys bleed on each other not infrequently, and like there's no test. I've seen some bloody fucking grappling matches, and it's like guys aren't tested for pretty much. I think Kasai is the only event that I'm ever aware of from a grappling perspective that I know tests.
Oh, really?
Do you know of any others?
I don't. I never thought about that.
Because I've personally seen like I saw Mateo Nunes' Fight to Win 53 match.
He got cut open.
He got cut open.
And he wore like a bandage on his head for the rest of the match.
And when they had to rebandage it because he was bleeding, he had a white gi on, and that thing was like a quarter red by the end of the match. He was like literally spurting blood at one point out of his head. But it's like there was no testing in that match.
True.
And like they don't test. But and I don't really have a problem with that because usually there shouldn't be any cuts in grappling. So I wanted to know what you thought about like guys having to test.
I think if that's the purpose of it, is just to cut down on communicable disease stuff, then yeah, cool. But I was thinking more for like the PED perspective.
Oh, no, they're not testing for that.
Yeah.
They're testing for like communicable diseases.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it was interesting. Like I go back and forth with like, I think it does move the sport towards a more professional realm, having to test for communicable diseases. But it is a little odd for grappling, considering like usually you don't get cut open, and it's like it's such a rare. It's like you have 50 guys on a card. One of them,
I guess,
might be blood as part of an accident.
Well, what's the argument against it though? You know what I mean? Like
you pull Gordon Ryan off a fucking card
for blood testing.
Yeah, he got pulled off the last Kasai for New York because he couldn't get his blood testing back. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my issue is like you shouldn't really get cut in grappling. But if you do, like, you don't have to stop. And it's just this weird kind of middle ground, and it's something that comes up with Kasai that hasn't come up with anything else. But thinking about this match, like, we know Jackson Souza doesn't have a communicable disease, and so it's just an interesting kind of touch point, and potentially we may see other events like begin to know more testing.
Sure,
and it was just an interesting point. So wraps his foot. I can't tell what happens. Jackson Souza takes the match 5-1. Anything else you want to add on the match?
No, that pretty much sums it up.
Okay. So next match we have Tex Jhonson versus Felipe Pena. This match is amazing. Holy shit. Tex Jhonson starts the match, runs at Pena. Then there's some pulling without grips, and there's some penalties. Basically, Kasai indicates that you have to get substantial contact before you're able to pull. And there's a couple guys throughout the event that have issues with this and don't either care or take the penalty for it for not pulling with grips.
Yeah, that kind of rule makes a lot more sense in like a gi because you actually have handles, like clothing handles to grab onto. It's tougher in no gi to sit with grips because all of your grips are set up for something, right?
Right.
So like I think we saw it in a Craig Jones match where they kind of did like the let's both grab hands kind of mercy thing, and then they did a double pull.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, I see why they both did that, but it's like,
a little in no-gi, it is a little odd. The double pull, not the double pull rule. The pulling with substantial contact rule is a little odd because it's like, I'm gonna grab the guy's wrist, and then I'm really not gonna do it. Like, once I get to the ground, I'm not gonna use that grip anymore because the grip I want is an ankle grip or like a shin grip or a knee grip or something. Like I'm not gonna use the hand grip really for anything.
What you're saying is like it's kind of like disingenuous. Like, I didn't even really want this grip, but I just did it just so I could sit without losing.
Right,
points.
and that's why I think it's a little weird for no-gi, and it's weird in the IBJJF for no-gi too, because like you're gonna sit, but it's like I don't with any sort of grip I grab unless I sit with a Russian or something, or like I'm doing like a throw by takedown or something. Like I'm not really gonna use the grip for anything.
Yeah.
Once I sit because I don't any grip that I can grab while standing and sit guard with is not a grip I'm typically going to use for anything else. Like a guy grabs a wrist grip or a hand grip. when I sit down, I'm not going to use that grip anymore.
Yeah, probably not.
Like I'm going to switch to, because like I can't control your upper body or your torso. Like I'm not going to grab like your neck, because as soon as I sit, like my arm's extended now and the guy's going to jump over and armbar me. So it's like there's no really good grip I can grab. I'm just gripping to kind of fulfill this rule requirement, but it does stop guys from pulling like from 5 feet away.
Right.
So
and then just butt scooting towards them and forcing them to engage.
Right.
It's like, well, no, if we go to the ground, at least there'll be some engagement. It won't just be me butt scooting towards you.
I do agree from that perspective, but it is always a little weird that like it just, because like you don't have grips. Like you don't have a grip. I don't have a grip that I'm going to carry to the ground and continue to use once I get to the ground.
Right.
But so there's a couple guys in the tournament that this comes up, and this comes up during this match with Pena because he sits without grips and he gets a penalty, which I think is the way to do it. Honestly, like it's one of those things that needs additional kind of ironing out, but we're still in like the young days of jiu-jitsu on a professional level. So I just thought to highlight it because it made me the thought it was interesting to me of like, okay, no one's gonna use the grip though. And the gi, like you said, like
that's a really good point.
It's interesting. Occasionally, like every 15 episodes, I get a good point. And I think that's this one. So I check in on episode 90. I'll have another good point at some point. So it's basically a race to guard. And Texas in the guard, they go 50-50, and Tex grabs a heel hook, and Pena fucking taps.
Yeah, that was really surprising.
I was surprised. Tex was surprised.
Right.
Everyone was surprised because like Gordon Ryan couldn't tap Felipe Pena.
Right. I think in the commentary they made that point pretty close to when the tap
like
comes.
15 seconds before.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, the king. I think
they said like the king couldn't do it.
The king couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And like see if Jhonson or Tex can do it.
Right.
And then he fucking does it. And there was a little controversy around this as well. And so Austin and I talked before the recording here about this because I was curious what Austin saw. And there's a couple things that happened. Again, this is the highlight of Tex Johnson's career so far. Like to tap Pena, this is the highlight of anyone's career. You just tapped the current ADCC absolute champion, who's gonna have a super fight against Galvao.
Yeah,
like,
huge feather in your cap.
Huge. Like that is. Did he get a point scored on him in ADCC during the absolute last ADCC 2017?
I can't recall. Maybe.
I don't know, dude.
I don't know.
It went on a fucking run, and like Pena is a monster. Like the only dude to beat Gordon Ryan in like the last couple years.
Yeah.
Monster on a different level, monster, and Tex gets him. So what I saw here, so Tex basically it looks like he holds a little long, is what kind of people were complaining about.
Right.
And there's a couple things that happen here that I thought were really interesting. So Tex grabs the heel hook, and initially I saw Tex belly down get the heel hook. Pena taps. He's kind of low on Tex's leg tapping, and then he taps a couple times, and like Tex lets go, and then Tex gets up and apparently looks at Murillo Santana, his coach at Unity, and Murillo's like upset with him. And Tex kind of can't figure out why. So immediately Tex like gets up. He's happy he got the tap. And then he looks, and then his demeanor immediately changes.
Yeah.
And you can tell something's up immediately. I went, oh, that's weird. Like, you just tapped Felipe Pena. I couldn't tell if he was just starstruck from the moment, which kind of looked like, or exactly what was going on. And it looked like, and apparently Murillo was upset with him because he saw Pena tapping earlier and thought Jhonson had held long.
Gotcha. Well, when he goes to dap up, not Murillo.
Felipe?
He goes to dap up, Pena right after the match. And Pena kind of puts his hand out like, nah, man, like I don't want to give you a handshake. And you could tell like Tex was confused. It wasn't like this like malicious like I'm gonna hold this Paul Harris style thing.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I don't really know what's going on. Let me go over to Murillo and see what's going on. And you kind of see Murillo talking to him, and Tex looks confused. Like he didn't do it with any kind of
and
bad intention.
That's what I got out of this as well. And it looked like, honestly. You can kind of, there's some, so I've read online, I've looked at this a little bit because I thought it was really interesting, again, because this is I want to really highlight for people that don't understand how big of a moment this is.
Yeah.
Like, Tex Jhonson is a guy that won a trials to get into ADCC.
Right.
Like, he won the East Coast trials. Like, he's a guy on the up and up, on the come up. Felipe Pena is the guy.
Right.
Like, Gordon Ryan's the guy, and
Sure.
Felipe Pena is the guy to beat Gordon Ryan.
Right.
So the fact that Tex Jhonson is able to tap him is a huge fucking deal. And it shows you the level that Tex Jhonson can operate at. And
sure.
it really puts him as one of the front. I think this match alone puts him as one of the front runners for ADCC.
Yeah, it's definitely a career-defining moment.
Yes. So I really want to get that point across. So there's so many items in this match. That's why I want to stress particularly about a lot of this because it's so interesting. And this kind of thing is rare in jiu-jitsu. So to watch it at an event like Kasai, these guys potentially can actually no. Pena's not in the bracket still because he's in the super fight with Galvao. But it's a really big moment. I want to stress that it's a really fucking big moment.
Yep.
And so it looked like to me that Pena goes to push off of Tex's leg in the 50-50 and escape. And then some people think that was a tap. And then Tex Jhonson goes through the heel hook, bellies down on the heel hook like he does, and then he's facing away from Pena, looking away from Pena, and he's getting tapped on like his lower leg and knee. And I honestly not sure if Tex thought he was going to tap Pena. I think he was more surprised about anything. So he's cranking as hard as he can possibly go on this, looking for the sub, looking to sub the dude.
Yeah, I think it was honestly a knee line clear because of the way he turns his body. Like, I think he was trying to push Tex's knee down so he could clear his knee line when he turned.
And on the rewatch, that's what I saw as well. I thought, was it a tap there? No, it looks like he's trying to push the knee
hover
line.
hand kind of tap. But I think he kind of, I don't know, your body does weird stuff when all your adrenaline's going. It's like, maybe I'll, like, you know when you're about to tap sometimes, you do like that hover hand.
Never
right
do the
above
hover
your
hand.
Appendage,
Dear God, never. No, I never do the hover hand because I've done this show for almost 2 years now. I have seen enough guys get their shit broken,
right?
And I've yelled at my guys for a long time, don't hover hap.
Yeah,
either defend
tap
or
don't.
tap.
Sure.
There's no middle ground.
But in the moment, that is a hard thing to like not do.
It's a hard thing to train out of yourself.
Exactly. So his body's probably doing the knee line clear, but then his hand's kind of there like, this is probably tight. And then he taps pretty fast and furious.
Yeah.
After he gets
and then Tex is facing away from him. So it's this weird little like this transitional sequence that like I don't really know how to like describe it. I wasn't there. I've watched the match a bunch of times now. And so but the shitty thing about all of this is Pena gets injured. And so he's unable to compete for the third place match. So Souza has to step in. We'll talk about that match in a minute. But it was interesting. Hopefully Pena's not like fucked up here.
Yeah.
I hope he like got a little sprain or something, like it's like strained or he's just like nervous or something. I hope it didn't actually injure his leg because I want to see more of Pena.
Yeah,
especially in the run-up for ADCC versus Galvao and like all the other stuff we can see him in. But I do want to highlight how just fucking crazy of a moment is that Tex Jhonson tapped Felipe Pena.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was a great sequence and like beautiful sub. Goddamn, like this for me, this was the highlight of this event. Yeah, I don't know how it could not be for you.
Yeah, hats off to Tex Jhonson.
Hats off to Tex Jhonson. Like, congrats on that fucking huge win. Next match to talk about is John Thor Blank versus Pedro Mourinho. I knew I was gonna fuck it up, so I listed it as Pedro in my notes.
I stared at you to see what you would say.
Yeah, I know. You gave me the eyes that were very, very helpful, Austin. I appreciate that. We're gonna start with this one.
Let me see. So, this was really cool. This was like
talking to the mic, Austin.
Oh, my bad. You want to stop?
No, we're good. Keep going.
Okay.
We're leaving this in.
Okay.
It's your first time on. It's your first time on the show. Like, why would everyone has done that? Every single person that we've ever brought onto the show has always the first recording is always looking at the notes and they start to turn sideways. Dude, you listen to any of the first couple episodes with Josh, with Ryan, with Emil. Everyone you see at certain points looks at the notes and turns away from the mic and forgets to leave their head there. So that happens every time. Well, I don't care. We're leaving it in.
Common denominator. I'm going to go ahead and blame you.
That's reasonable, honestly. I run the show and do this. Just blame it for everything.
Fair enough.
Like I can't defend myself. I don't have the wherewithal anymore.
So, Felipe Pena, if you're listening, it was Maine's fault.
All right, let's not do that. I already got a broken back. Like, let's not do that. He also speaks Portuguese, so hopefully he doesn't listen to the show because it's an English show.
Fair enough.
So, next match, John Blank versus Pedro.
Yeah, so we started hinting at this. This was like our big spoiler alert earlier in the show.
Yeah.
So, Pedro Mourinho passes John's guard like 3 or 4 times or something.
I think 3 because he's up at that point. He's up 3. He's up 12-0. And what was super interesting in this match with me is you saw the last pass, the pass that he ended up getting armbarred by John on, is he throws it by kind of lazy.
Yeah.
Like, he's passed John's guard 3 times, and you can tell, he's just going to try to rack up points now.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what John was doing. Then when he did the under the armpit armbar off an inversion, it's like, man, that's genius. Like,
yeah.
I didn't see it coming, and that's probably why he caught him.
Yeah, and the commentary was really good because the commentary was like, okay, we know now, because basically the commentary thought John was making a mistake at first. And like, okay, he's getting passed, like he's not doing the right thing. And then after the second or third pass, the commentary went, oh, I see what he's doing.
Yeah, the commentary, they were on it. They were like, oh, he was baiting him. And I was like, baiting him for what? And then he hits the armbar.
I didn't see it. I was like, is he baiting him or is he just
it just
is
looked
he
like
just
pretty
fucking
solid.
this up? It looked like Pedro was just
passing.
like good passing and like
And
getting
John
around.
would recover, and then he'd have to pass again.
Yeah.
They just look like normal jiu-jitsu, just with one guy kind of dominating the passing, another guy regarding.
Right. And I was like,
like,
it looks like John just like getting out past here. And I was like, okay. And the commentator picks it up, and I was like, is he really? Like, and then you saw Pedro like he's passed the same way 3 times, and every time you see him kind of get John's timing down a little better, and the pass seems to be a little easier. And then you see he jumps past like kind of with his hips not super engaged, not super up, and John rolls through and grabs like a beautiful armbar. And I was like, oh shit, commentary knows what the fuck they're talking about.
They knew it was up. That was really awesome.
It was a really cool moment, and it was really cool to hear the comment. Like, I watch a lot of jiu-jitsu, like an unhealthy amount of jiu-jitsu. And I didn't pick up on what John was doing, so it was really cool to have professional commentators basically tell me, like, he's looking for this. And then I was like, is he looking for that? Like, I don't know if you guys know what you're talking about. And then he hits it, and I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I better stay in my lane.
Yeah.
As an after-the-fact jiu-jitsu analyst, not a current jiu-jitsu analyst.
Well, yeah. I mean, aside from the fact that Pedro's won Brasileiros and Worlds, we're both purple belts. So... yeah. I mean, he got baited just like I would have gotten baited.
I'm a broken purple belt. Oh, yeah. So, speaking of live things, we just got announced that we are going to be doing commentary for SAGC 7 Redemption in College Park, Maryland on June 23rd, 2019.
Oh,
so,
sweet.
speaking of live commentary, you get to hear us again. I know it's me, and potentially it's going to be Weinstock, and maybe a couple others of us will do like a 3 or 4 mic between a bunch of us. And so you get to hear us on commentary. Butcher names live. So that's super exciting. But dude, super cool match. It was really cool to see have the commentators like be so good that they were seeing things that I didn't see.
Yeah.
Really impressive with that. So on to the next match we have. Anything else add on that match?
No, I think we got it.
Okay. Next match we have Craig Jones versus Kaynan Duarte. I was excited about this match. I was super excited to see what both guys do. This is the match we're talking about where they double guard sit.
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to what we were just saying before about not really having the rules be completely ironed out yet for this format, where you have to have some kind of active engagement before you sit. So, you good?
Yeah, we're good. I'm pointing at the mic again for Austin.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, I think that was kind of weird. They both had like a double sit moment, but it kind of makes sense when you think of both of their games too.
Yeah, in a big way. Like you don't want to let Craig Jones get underneath you.
Yeah. So one of the big takeaways I saw in this match, Craig tries that same inversion to heel hook setup. This is kind of the finishing sequence. So Craig tries this inversion to heel hook setup, and then Kaynan falls to the not trap side. So his hip that's not trapped, he falls to that, and he does a nasty back take.
So this is interesting. I think Emil brought this up, this potential opening in Spriggs' games, in Craig Jones's game versus the Tim Spriggs match. That Craig potentially leaves himself open for this style of back take, and it's really interesting to see Duarte be able to capitalize on it and actually take the back off of it.
Yeah, so whichever leg he doesn't go after, you hip flop to the other side.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Saying? So then he gets like a back take off of it, which made a lot of sense to do. And then I think it kind of caught Craig off guard because he got right to a body triangle, and then he kind of had a schoolboy rear naked that was kind of like across his jawline.
Yeah.
But with how strong Kaynan is, I'm sure that would finish anybody.
Yeah, and so he's able to get Kaynan Duarte. Jesus, names are hard. Is able to get the rear naked choke on Craig Jones, and I was again really impressed. I do not know what Duarte's ceiling is. Like, because you're beating Craig Jones by sub in Nogi in a similar format that he's, like, well-schooled for. Like, I don't know when's the last time we've seen Jones get tapped?
That's a good point.
Craig Jones. Oh, sorry, not Craig Jones. Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan. Like, he may have got with something else that I'm forgetting about, but, like, he's not a guy we see get submitted a whole lot. So to have a guy like Duarte be able to get to his back and choke him, really, really impressive. Anything else to add on the match?
No, just that last sequence is awesome. If you're going to watch anything in that match, watch that last sequence where Craig Jones inverts and then Kaynan takes his back.
Yeah, really, really cool sequence. So next match we got Craig Jones versus Jackson Souza. And this is interesting because this is supposed to be Craig Jones versus Felipe Pena, but Pena took the injury in the Jhonson match, so we get Jackson Souza filling in for that third place spot. Souza gets the takedown, the points off a guard pull from Jones basically, and his foot starts bleeding again.
Right.
And they've got to tape his foot up, and basically, like, really, really quickly after that, we have Craig Jones going to, like, a De La Hiva hook. There you go, Austin. I got you this time.
Yeah.
And he gets the Kayotera footlock.
Yeah. So this was an interesting spot because you saw Craig Jones kind of go to a kind of like a modified close guard first before the inversion, which I hadn't seen him do before. Usually he does this inversion off of a knee shield.
Yeah.
So
that's really
cool.
where he likes to play from.
Yeah.
For all his stuff, like he plays that super heavy Z guard knee shield position and inverts to the opposite leg from there. But yeah, we don't see him throw it a ton from the closed guard.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't a completely closed guard, but you know, in between his two legs.
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
It was really cool. That was something I hadn't, or at least that I can't recall. I've never seen him do that before. So that was cool. Even though he used the same setup he usually uses, that was a cool little intermediary spot that I've not seen before.
Yeah, we saw him hit a little different setup, but the same footlock he hit on Boogie Martinez at Quintet.
Right. That Kayotera straight ankle footlock where you're falling away from the opposite leg.
Yeah. It's really interesting. You don't see a ton of guys like hit it, so it's really cool that obviously with Craig Jones hitting it repeatedly now, you know that it's a technique in his wheelhouse that he has like down, especially hit on a guy as decorated as Souza. So that was really cool. Craig Jones takes the third place for the Kasai 205-pound bracket. So moving on to the finals match, we have Aaron Tex Jhonson versus Kaynan. Does he have a middle name? Does he have like a nickname?
Not that I've heard.
Duarte. KD. Kaynan KD Duarte. Yo, that'd be so much. That's awesome.
Like a basketball player.
Isn't that Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
That I've exhausted all of my basketball knowledge, by the way. Are you a basketball fan?
No.
Are you? Wait, do you watch any other sports?
No.
MMA?
I mean, yeah. Is that another sport though?
No, it's the same sport. But like, do you watch kickboxing?
Just combat sports. It's
okay. Yeah, me, like sports with a mouth guard and headgear.
Yeah.
It's like those are my sports, like kickboxing, boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, and then grappling.
Yeah.
And then like I watch a little bit of wrestling and a little bit of judo, but for the most part, like mouth guard sports.
Yeah.
That's
when
my
the Olympics
jam.
come around, I watch all the other martial arts, but the same ones you mentioned.
I watch everything Olympics. Like I love Olympic sports. I
for sure.
Don't really know why.
Because it's cool. It's 4 years and you get one shot.
Dude, you ever get super into like I just all these niche sports I never watched, but I'm just like, fuck yeah, this like, dude, I love curling though.
There's a dude who's a pro curler.
Dude, I fucking love
curling. That's his
job.
That's
I
awesome.
love curling. I will watch the shit out of curling. I
like,
don't know why.
I don't know. You understand how somebody gets into like baseball? Like, oh, you played Little League, you played T-ball, whatever. You just kept playing baseball. How do you get into like curling or like biathlon?
You hate yourself.
Like you shoot stuff and you ski? Like that sounds dope, but whose parents sign you up for biathlon?
Do you ski?
No, dude, I'm black.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know, man. You're like a smart guy. You could ski. I don't know how that works. That was the best response ever to that. Like, no, man, it's cold. Winter sports? No.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Rather be inside.
But you don't watch basketball.
I don't watch basketball. That's true.
All right, so on to this match. Jesus, this segment may never see the light of day.
Probably shouldn't.
Tex Jhonson versus Kaynan KD Duarte. So Duarte scores off an ankle pick, and he is able to get 1 point off an Estima lock attempt.
Yep.
And then he's able to basically pass on like a cartwheel pass. And
yeah, those cartwheel passes were kind of like last-ditch efforts, I think.
Well, he was just trying to not get
He's trying to get hit with the penalties because he was already penalized once for stalling, which, honestly, was kind of a smart play. He's already up by 3 points. There's maybe like a minute left on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets hit again, then it's going to be a tie match. So,
but this is why Duarte's so good.
Yep.
Because like he understands the full depth, understands the full depth of the rules, and understands like how to use the penalties in his favor. Like, okay, cool, I'm up by pick your amount of points. If I stall, I have an extra penalty. I have 2 penalties I can take.
Right.
And only the second penalty is going to be scoring for how many penalties I have currently. So I have X amount of time to run out the clock. I use this penalty here. It lets me stall for this long. And then I have to maintain activity for the last 20 seconds. It's going to take him 3 to 5 seconds to settle my position and score the points.
Sure.
So I have another 15 seconds here.
You know how hard that is to do in a match? And then you also have like Tex Jhonson staring at you from his butt, which is maybe one of the scariest people.
Dude.
You just watch him tap Pena from his butt.
You don't watch him tap Pena. You watch him break Pena's leg.
Yeah, so you watch him heel hook a legend, and then now you're up by a few points, and you're staring at his open guard. It's like, how much time's left? Yeah, cool. I'm gonna hang this one out.
I'm gonna stall hard as shit.
I don't fault him for it though. It's a really smart strategic
But you know
play.
the rules, and if you want to see something different, like you've got to change your rules. Like I never fault a guy. I used to in like white and blue belt. I used to fault guys for like playing the rules, like, oh, I didn't engage. And I'm like, no, if he engaged for how the rules are set to engage. If you want to force a different style of engagement, you've got to change your rules to facilitate the style of engagement you're looking for. Like, that's why Greco and freestyle and judo, like, they have their own set of rules. And judo and Greco have super aggressive stalling penalties. And I think jiu-jitsu's starting to adopt that, because if you're looking for more action, you have to. Quintet has super aggressive stalling penalties. They do. And so, like, Duarte did exactly what he needed to do versus a monster like Tex Jhonson. Like, you're up by a couple points, like, you stay active enough, and then you get your stalling penalty because you're trying to disengage, and then you ride out your points, and he worked the cartwheel passes and eventually is able to go over the cartwheel.
Not to extend this rant, but this is kind of the difference where sport and martial arts kind of play, right? So it's like, yeah, and I could see somebody being like, yeah, but that's not in the spirit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to not engage somebody. It's like, yeah, but he scored the points for engaging him already.
Yes.
And they are doing a sport. Let's be real. Like, they're competitive grapplers. They're not doing self-defense grappling at the moment. Can they? Yeah, of course. You don't think Kaynan Duarte could beat somebody up in the streets with grappling? You're sorely mistaken. Same thing with Tex Jhonson. They would beat the crap out of most people you know.
Same thing with most, like, sport. Everyone's like, oh, punches change things. Yeah, they do. But you don't think that your average, like, there's been a big debate online, not to completely non sequitur here, but like, with like, oh, even your average sport purple belt nowadays couldn't. It's like, have you seen the average guy fight? Like, your average guy.
Right.
Not like some athlete, some freak like D1 football player. Like, he's probably going to beat most guys.
Right.
Even trained guys. Like, you put that guy against like an amateur MMA fighter, he might not do so hot because that dude's just a freak athlete. But you put like two guys similar size, one's a purple belt, one's not. The purple belt at least understands kind of how fighting works.
Sure.
The other guy doesn't.
Right.
Like,
or at the very least,
I don't know where this rant
most days of the week.
Yeah, I don't know where this rant came from, by the way.
Oh, we were just saying that Kaynan kind of played the rules, and there's some people who frown upon that because it's not in the spirit of the martial arts, whatever.
Dude did what he needed to do to get the win.
They're doing a sport.
Yeah.
Like, this level of grappling is a sport. Like, let's be real.
Yes, and dude, any level, if you sign up for a tournament, you're doing a sport at that point.
There's rules.
If you're trying to do like a gym war or like a kumite, like, okay, maybe you're doing like something different at that point. But in a professional jiu-jitsu event, like, you're doing a sport. He played the rules and he won. Props to him.
It was smart.
It was great.
Great strategy.
And he wins 5-1. And now he is the 205-pound champion for Kasai. And I cannot wait to see him defend this belt.
Yep. His ceiling is super high, like you said earlier. So I'm really excited to see his next match.
Been a black belt for 8 months.
Nuts.
8 fucking months. He won Kasai versus like a giant bracket of killers.
Right.
He won Pans. He won Europeans. 8 months.
It's nuts. Atos puts out such great guys, like, consistently, that it just makes sense. Like, he's training with killers. He can beat killers. It makes sense.
There's a bunch of other great matches on this card as well. We have Rede Leon on the undercard. We have Natalie Santoro, which is Gordon Ryan's girlfriend. She gets a win via guillotine. There's a bunch of other like great matches on the undercard. The whole event is up on Flow Grappling. Highly recommend you go back and watch it. It's definitely worth your time. The undercard's great. The main card is just absolutely fantastic. It's rare that you see this level of top talent presented on one card at the same time. There's nobody in this entire bracket that's like, oh, that's a throwaway name. Like, all these guys are decent names. Like, Pedro gets in through like the qualifier. Like, everyone here deserves to be here, and that was really evident.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add on the event?
No, I think we covered most of it.
Yeah.
Check out the super fights if you have the time too. Those are pretty good.
Oh yeah, no, fuck that. Let's talk about those. I completely was like doing the outro for this segment. Jesus. Yeah, let's start with Marcos Tinoco versus Romulo Bahal. I completely missed these. Jesus. They're in my notes. I took note. Tinoco hits an Ochigari twice.
Yeah, he hit him twice.
And that's
I think that caught Romulo off guard, because I think he was looking for him to out wrestle him. Because when he did shoot like towards the end of the match, he had a huge sprawl, like he was ready to try to guillotine I think that might have been a last-ditch effort, but still, it seemed like Romulo was ready for a shot, and when he kept kind of tying up with him, it kind of threw him out of his game, I think.
It was really, because Romulo was like, I think, the favorite to take this. I think you'd be dominant to not And
you at least have to have him in the running. He's a
Yeah.
freaking beast.
And so it was crazy to see like Tinoco get like a nice high tie up and like get a really beautiful Uchigari in this, which Uchigari is the basically, if you're standing chest to chest with someone, you have whatever type you want to have, and then you take your inside leg, like say your right leg, and you hook it onto the inside of the opponent's right leg, and you throw straight back. So you basically trip them backwards. And Tinoco hits this twice on Romulo and just beautiful. He's nice and chest to chest. He's able to like turn the leg around once they kind of go out of bounds a little bit, but to hit the takedown twice on a guy like Romulo really was impressive to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So Tinoco takes that 4-1. Next match we have Dante Leon versus Edwin Najmi.
So yeah, this match starts out. Edwin gets a knee tap double. He puts Leon on his butt, so he gets 1 point. There's a crazy scramble with a leg entanglement, but Leon doesn't score. It's a little bit controversial. That's kind of a theme throughout this match. There's a lot of going off the mat.
There was a lot of like kind of subjective points like with the reffing, and I think
Right.
I don't think you or I had any problem with how they were scored.
No, not at all.
But it definitely got a little more. You can make arguments either way for a lot of the scoring in the match.
Yeah, there was a point where Dante had like a backside kind of like he had back exposure where he's holding a single leg. He's holding like behind the knee of Edwin.
Yeah.
And they kind of go out of bounds, and they give him the 2 for that, which makes sense. But then there was another point earlier in the match where Najmi did something really similar, and they didn't score it. I think they scored at 1 point. So a little bit controversial, but I wouldn't say anything you wouldn't agree with if you saw it.
Yeah. I mean, well, it doesn't need to be. The points don't matter, honestly.
Right.
Because it ends in a sub.
Right. Yeah. So Najmi's down by 1. He shoots. Leon kind of goes into this front headlock and spins to the back. They had to reset them because they start spinning out of bounds. And then Leon gets this body triangle, finishes the rear naked choke. Great finish by him.
Dude, super tight. Like, I was really impressed with like Leon. We've seen Leon now choke 2 marquee dudes. Like, Najmi is a monster. We haven't seen Najmi compete a ton recently, but we've seen Dante Leon now take out Edmund Najmi and take out Mateus Lutz in this last Kasai. And again, the Lutz matchup was a little weird as well because it was kind of controversial because there seemed to be a discrepancy or like with if they were going to reset or how they had reset. So that was kind of a weird rear naked choke, but we've now seen Leon get 2 marquee guys with rear naked chokes.
Right.
So he's a dude that's here to stay. Like, I foresee him being in whatever bracket they have for Kasai or being on more super fights with Kasai because he has really shown. He's the champion of King of Mats for like the 3rd straight time.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago, he won King of Mats again. Like, he's a standout, and we're going to see a lot more from him moving forward.
Yep.
I want to move on to the next match.
Sure.
We have Maisa Bastos versus Fiona Watson.
So yeah, Fiona Watson, Maisa Bastos. Am I saying it right? Probably saying it right.
No, you're fucking it up. But like everyone knows that we butcher names on the show. This episode is no different, and you are being welcomed in the Grappling Rewind family by your own butchering of the names. Maisa Bastos and Fiona Watson.
What did I say?
I don't know, man, but it wasn't that.
I tried.
Josh is gonna send us a text like, "You guys fucked up so much." Again, I know Josh. I know.
Whatever, Josh. I'll find the episodes where you fuck up too.
There's 40 of them. 45 of them you can find.
Yeah, don't come for me, Josh. Okay, so Bastos looks super dominant throughout the match. She was up by 11 with like 6 minutes still left to go. Bastos was on her back. She ends up finishing a rear naked choke. She also had Murillo in her corner. Apparently she trains at Unity. Who knew? Yeah,
Austin didn't know a ton about Maisa coming into this. And she's like, yeah, I was world champion. And I pulled up the BJ Heroes article, and he's like, oh, very, very decorated.
Yeah, I probably should have known she was going into this, but yeah, that's my bad.
It happens. This is why, like, again, it's part of the learning process on the show. Is like we try to keep track of like 400 names, give or take, on any given year, and it happens. So again, super impressive performance from her. Really excited to see her get a win. This whole event was just outstanding. Highly recommend you go back and watch it. Now, this is actually the actual outro for this piece of the show. We've been going for like an hour on Kasai. You guys know that when we go long on events like this, they are definitely worth your time. We didn't even cover some of the undercard matchups, so go back and watch it. It was really, really good. It was, again, one of the better events I've seen this year. Highly recommend it.
Yep.
So on to our recap of Quintet Fight Night 3. This one was the lightweight women. Each team was under 360 kilograms, I think. 360 or 380 kilograms. I don't think any team actually really came close to that weight. Most of the women on the event were significantly smaller. We had Team Deep Jules, we had Team Corella, we had Team BJ Konoichi, and we had Team 10th Planet. This event was really interesting. It's the first time we've seen Quintet run an all-female event. And where do you want to start with this one? Want to start with the opening matchups? It also had some super fights, so we'll get into at the end of this event.
Yes, let's start from the beginning.
All right. So at the beginning, we had Team 10th Planet versus Team Deep Jewels. Going into this, I think you can put two teams as your front runners. So I'm really happy that they didn't match at the beginning. I think Team 10th Planet and Team BJJ Konoichi had, from a grappling perspective, the most stacked lineup. We talked about this a little bit last week in our preview of it. All the grapplers were the same. There were no replacements. So all the women that we talked about last week in our preview section that Emil got together in an outstanding way were featured on this event. So if you want to know more about some of these grapplers, take a look at last week's episode where we talk about some of the grappling credentials of all of the women on this event. So let's start the first match. Liz Carmouche versus King Reina.
Yeah, this was it ended up being a draw. There weren't really it wasn't a whole lot of great action.
It was definitely a slower way to start off the event.
Yeah. So King Reina, she tried to throw like 6 minutes in, and then
Talking to the mic, Austin.
My bad. So she tries to throw like 6 minutes into the match. It gets flattened, and they end up in a scramble to rest position. And she gets mounted. She escapes, and then it looked like Liz kind of missed this opportunity for a fall off armbar.
Yeah.
So I know I talked through a whole sequence of things happening.
Well,
basically, what I'm saying is she's a wrestler, so this submission only kind of format might not suit her the best.
Yeah, and also because there's no points. Like Quintet. Okay, so we completely forgot to talk about what Quintet is. So Quintet is a team battle system. We previewed it last week, but basically what it is, there are 4 teams, each with 5 grapplers. The total weight for the entire event must be below whatever the cap for that event is. For this one, it's lightweight, which for Quintet I think is 380 or 360 kilograms. And so what happens is the first 2 grapplers from the first 2 teams go against each other. If there is a draw, both grapplers are eliminated. If one grappler submits the other grappler, then the grappler that submits stays in, and then the other team has to move on to the next grappler that has not been eliminated. After one team runs through all 5 of their members, then the team that still has remaining members wins. If there's a draw at the end of it, then it goes to, and then the final match, and both teams are on their 5th member, it goes to a decision based on aggressiveness and activity. And it also can come out of penalties as well if penalties are equal. So, and then basically in the first round, it's Team Deep Jewels versus Team 10th Planet. In the second round, it's Team Corella versus Team BJJ Konoichi. And then once they move into the second round, it's whatever winning team happened in the first, basically Group A versus Group B. And then those 2 teams go against each other and then fight out for the finals. Did that make any sense, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, it made sense to me because I watched it. But
watch this event. There's one of the commentators for Quintet actually talks about the rules on a YouTube show right before the first Quintet. I think we also do a better job of talking about that on one of the earlier Quintets. So go back and listen to our other Quintet shows if you're interested in more about the rules. It once you watch it, explains.
It's really easy once you see it visually. Yeah,
once you see it visually, it's very hard to kind of explain through it. But it's a cool format. It usually presses a ton of action, and so watch it. So next match we had Grace Gundrum versus all the Japanese names I forgot about.
Hikaru Aono.
Yeah, it should be easy because they're phonetic. All the Japanese names are phonetic. But big takeaway from this match was I realized how big the mat space was.
Yeah,
it is because the ladies were a little smaller than the men. But, man, it is a huge match. But you had very few issues with going out of bounds for this event.
Yeah, that's true. Let me think about what I saw in this match. So, this one ended up in another draw.
I was kind of worried here because from the jump of the event, you had 2 draws.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, we got to have a lot of draws this event. And so it initially made me a little concerned.
Yeah.
But the rest of the event had some fire.
Right. So Grace had a really cool armbar attempt with 2 minutes left, and then she also had a twister attempt with about 30 seconds left, which I kind of think that weight and wrestling kind of made the difference. I think she's still a teenager, isn't she?
I think she's 15.
Yeah. She's 15 or 16, I think. You're right.
15 or 16. She just got her purple belt this week in Japan, actually, from the guys at 10th Planet Bethlehem, Zach Meslani and J.M. Holland. So that was cool to be featured on an event like this as basically you got announced as a blue belt and now you're a purple belt. She also wrestles in Pennsylvania, and she's a big part of the Pennsylvania Jiu-Jitsu scene. You've seen her on it and EBI. I think she is the reason why EBI no longer allows heel hooks in kids matches.
Oh, yeah. She injured some girl, I thought.
Yeah. Back in the day. That was probably almost 3 years ago at this point, I think. Maybe even 4 years ago. So this match ends up in a draw.
Yeah, I think just weight and wrestling really made the difference in this match.
So next match we had a Vibra Karpenin versus, you're reading all the Japanese names, Austin.
Yukari Nabi.
Oh, you're going to kill it on this one. All right. So Karpenin gets a heel hook in the first exchange.
Yeah, so
she just grabs it.
Yeah, 30 seconds into the match, she grabs a toe hold.
Was it a toe hold or heel hook?
It's a toe hold.
Oh.
It's like 30 seconds in.
I fucked up my notes then. It says heel hook in the first exchange.
I think she like sits back to a toe hold, if I'm not mistaken. It happened super fast into the match.
Yeah, it was the first
30 seconds.
First exchange of the match, and it's like, okay. And if you don't know who Elvira is, she is the woman that subbed Mackenzie Dern in the first round of ADCC 2017. So
she's also won Europeans.
Yeah, she's a monster, and so like that to have her immediately come out strong was no surprise to me. So Elvira moves on to the next match versus
Tomo Masaiwa. Oh no, I probably mispronounced that. Tomo.
It's phonetic, Austin.
Ooh.
Japanese,
why aren't you pronouncing it?
Because I'm stupid. We've established this on the show, dude.
I think it's Maisawa.
Okay.
Tomo Maisawa.
Maisawa. Got it.
We're going with that. So this match was a 4-minute match because there's a weight disparity. Elvira is a little bit bigger than the rest of the team, I think. The rest of the entire Deep Jewels team. So she had a deep triangle from guard, ends up rolling into mount. She ends up getting an armbar finish with about 45 seconds left, so she's eliminated another member of Team Deep Jewels.
Which is really what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, your big goal is to have a grappler on your team take out multiple grapplers from the other team, especially if you've had draws initially. So now, basically, going into the first match with Elvira, you were even. Now, she's taken out 2 people. That means you have an additional 2 people, and you're on your last person for the other team. So it's a huge, whenever you can have someone take out multiple people, it is hugely beneficial to your team. Because also, your people can go into your, if you actually win the first round matchups, you go into your second round, you have fresh people still, which is always a good thing.
Exactly. But then on that flip side, Elvira's getting tired. She's had she's had quick subs, but the potential for her to like wear out some of your superstars is way higher now, right?
Yeah. So it's really interesting, and we like this a lot because you have to plan how your team is laid out. Like, okay, do you want to put your ringer at the front? You want to put your big person at the front or at the end? Or it's like, okay, if you get to the second round now, okay, your big guy has already had 4 matches now or 2 matches. It's interesting. It adds a whole nother dynamic from the team aspect that I like, and I don't think anyone's quite figured it out yet, and I like that. So we're still playing it sort of straight and narrow with how it should be played. No one's figured out really how to game it yet, and I like that. So on to the next match. We have Elvira versus
Emi Tomomatsu.
Awesome. That's not the name I had, so I'm super happy that you pronounced it correctly. So Karpenen gets a tap with 1 second remaining.
Yeah.
1 second.
This was also really sweet. She had a really crazy back take setup from half. She like inverted under. And then she used the same kind of series that we saw in Kasai with like the DDS guys where they use like a body triangle to try to trap the arm. They use the rock climber to try to keep their arm in place.
When you say rock climber, what are you talking about? Can you describe that position? Because like I know what you're talking about, but it's not a term that I've ever used on the show.
Gotcha.
So I want to like run through for the audience because you used it a couple times now. So what do you mean by rock climber?
So by rock climber, what I mean is if you're in seatbelt, the arm that's on the top side, so not the arm that's under their armpit, but on the top side, that
choking arm.
Usually the arm that you choke with, not the controlling arm.
Right.
If you go to like their far side delt and like grab around their shoulder, I call that rock climber because it feels like the same grip you would use when you're doing like rock climbing and you can grab like a really big grip. So I call it rock climber because you don't want to give that grip up. If you get your hand to that spot on their delt, you don't give that grip up. Yeah. And that's pretty much what I mean when I say it.
That's good.
Okay.
Again, we do an audio podcast.
So fair enough.
It is super helpful to describe stuff in like detail so that you can hear it once and okay, like that's what he means when he's talking about this.
Right.
So
she ends up with a neck crank. She basically finished the whole Deep Jewels team by herself, which was awesome.
Yeah, pretty much. So again, you get these superstars, and Elvira is a monster. Obviously, you get to ADCC, you win European. Like, there's a reason why you can go through so many people. So on to the next one, we have Team Chlorella versus Team BJJ Konaichi. Austin, you are reading all of these names, bro.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So Yuki Suguichi versus Miyu Ikimoto.
You'll be confident in at least. If you're going to get it wrong, the grappling rewind way is to just butcher it like Yuki Sonaichi versus Miyu Ikakome, which is not correct at all. But like I sounded confident in it, which is the important part, Austin. We are professional grappling analysts here. There you go. Be confident.
Sure.
So Yuki goes to the high guard and gets the armbar, gets the tap. Again, another really quick sub. So like those 2 draws initially that made me a little worried. I was like, okay, we just seen Elvira sub a bunch of ladies. Yuki immediately goes in, gets a really quick armbar tap. And the setup was the same as the next match. So next match we have, Austin's looking at me like he's got more.
Oh, well, yeah, there was something in this match I thought was cool. Mia's 14, and she lasts in that armbar for like a while. Like her arm kind of gets inverted a bit. Like you watch her elbow kind of extend past her forearm, and she still kind of lasted out. So shouts out to her for lasting super long and trying to gut out that armbar. She made a really good attempt at trying to get out.
Trying to win for your team.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. Next match we have Yuki
Suguichi versus Megumi Sugimoto.
Okay. Yeah, that was awesome. That's way easier than I don't have to read the names.
So there was really sweet opener, like a high guard with overhook setup, and then she ended up getting an armbar within a minute. Really kind of the same setup that she had in the first match, but just a little bit slower, but still
in my
crazy.
Notes, it's same high guard set up to the armbar, gets the tap in the same way. Again, but that is obviously, it's cool to see these grapplers stick in multiple matches in a row because you can see that their flavor is like, okay, this is what that grappler does really well. So again, you've eliminated 2 people going in, 2 people off BJJ off the other team. It's great. Next match.
So this puts Suguichi against Mika Nagano. Mika Nagano tries to use a smash pass kind of technique, kind of like that day one BJJ, like I'm reaching for your far collar kind of pass.
Yeah, just like the standard like kind of pressure smash pass.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
far side, you're trying to like roll over the legs,
right,
to like get to the side control.
Right. In Army combatives, they call it some weird pass too. They call it like savor the moment or something stupid.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Oh, you have all the Army combatives names, don't you?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Do you use any of them?
No, because they're way too complex for what the thing is.
Are there any good ones that are like it's called savor the moment?
Well, there's like a spot in that pass where they call it like savor the moment. It's basically a stacking pass, but when you reach across the far collar, they're like, oh, just hang out here because it sucks for them. Like in a stack pass, I'm like, yeah, that's probably true if you're fighting a not grappler, but then why would you need to pass the guard of a non-grappler?
That's a good point. Yeah, it's so funny. I forgot you have that background.
Yeah, man.
Are there any other good names? Because Save the Moment is a pretty fucking great name for a stack pass.
Yeah, so they don't call any of the arm locks by like their like conventional jiu-jitsu name.
Their correct name?
Yeah, so it's like they name them so that Army dumb guys like me can remember what the names are.
So basically,
like
they're 10 planet names. But they're not dumb.
But they're like exactly descriptive. They're not exactly code names. It's like Kimura, bent armbar. And then...
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's the most boring shit ever.
And then I think,
okay, do they have an Americana?
Yeah, Americana is reverse bent armbar.
Are you serious?
Maybe those two are flip-flop.
Dude, that's the dumbest thing ever.
Well, yeah, but if you're trying to describe it to someone who's never done jiu-jitsu, it kind of makes sense. If I start saying Americana, Kimura, all this other stuff, and you have to learn this in like a 40-hour block of instruction...
Are there any other ones? I love names and like stuff. Now I'm gonna like put you on the spot for like, hey Austin, give me all the dumb names for all the techniques that have real names.
I don't know. All of them are like really goofy. It's like
Does Kneebar have a name?
I don't think there even is a Kneebar to like level 3 or 4 or something. But
There's
I think
levels to this shit.
There are levels to this shit. So like I think like a flower sweep is like it's something ridiculously complicated. It's like sweep from the attempted straight armbar is a flower sweep from your close guard.
They call it a sweep though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting something right.
I mean, I can't remember which Gracie it is, but he's like the one in the black and white pictures doing all the demos for stuff.
Huh.
So, I mean, it has legit roots. And all the stuff is like watered down jiu-jitsu. It's really cool, but it's also watered down jiu-jitsu, so it's not that cool.
All right. So off this nonsense. I'm going to talk about this after because I'm super, like, this is hilarious to me. They have a whole different set of names for stuff. So on to this match, as we don't get completely non-sequitured.
Okay, so then we have Yuki Saguichi versus Sarah McMahon.
Yeah.
Is that where we're on?
That's where we're on.
Okay.
So Suichi gets the armbar in the last match. So that basically, the cool thing about this is she's almost run through the entire team.
Right.
And you're like, oh snap, we might see it. So we've talked about it internally at the Grappling Rewind on like who's going to be the first person to go through an entire team.
Ooh.
And like because it's so fucking hard to do because you got to get 5 fresh. You have to be the first person on a team.
Right.
Or technically, you could be like the 3rd or 4th if that first person on the other team subs people.
Yeah.
Basically, but the first person to take out every member of a team.
How do you feel about if you beat 4 people, but then draw the last person? I mean, you still won. You still beat everybody.
No, fuck that. It doesn't count. Doesn't count. You didn't win. You drew.
Fair enough.
Okay, Quintet rules. You drew. It's a double loss. Quintet's really cool because you're losing until you win.
Yeah,
it's really cool. Like you have to sub the person. You are both losing until you win. Alex Viano talked about that. Like here's where we got that from. He's like, that's why it works so well because yeah, I'm going to say it again. You're losing until you win. And it's such a cool concept. So Yuki potentially can take out the entire team here. But she doesn't, because she runs into Sarah McMahon, who is gigantic compared to Yuki.
Yeah, I did a seminar at Beta Academy. It was called Grapplethon. It's like a charity event. And Sarah McMahon happened to be at one of them to give like a wrestling seminar.
What year is this?
Ooh, maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
4 years ago.
Not too long ago.
Not super long ago, no.
So she was still like Sarah McMahon, like in her prime, like she was still fighting then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And in person, she is jacked.
Dude, like on the broadcast, she's jacked.
You can tell, but I'm just saying, like...
Dude, she's a silver medalist. She's a wrestling silver medalist. Like, that pedigree is amazing. Like, you don't get there without being a freak athlete to begin with.
For sure.
Yeah, so she was much bigger than Yuki, and that shows. She grabs a fucking guillotine and cranks.
Yep.
And she changes it to a high elbow guillotine there.
Yep, started with that rear naked choke kind of finish, that Mataliao kind of grip. Ends up adjusting it a couple times. Just heard making the grip adjustment. I was like, ooh, like I felt bad for Yuki's neck.
Yeah.
Like it looked rough.
Because you saw, like, Yuki's had, this is her 4th match in a row. And they don't give you much time. They give you, like, less than a minute to recover. Like, you're on to the next match. And Sarah McMahon is a monster and fresh and on your neck. And you're like, oh, this woman fought for the title. Like, this woman is a silver medalist in the Olympics.
Yep.
As an American.
Yep.
As a woman. Like, gangster.
So what, maybe like a minute in, she gets the finish?
If it was even that long.
Right.
So, it was amazing.
So
it was
keep in mind, if you haven't watched this event, you just saw like 3 really quick finishes and then that person get finished with a really quick finish. So it's a pretty action-packed event after those first 2 draws. So don't let those first 2 draws deter you from watching the rest of the event.
Oh, yeah. It's quick. It's like, oh, shit. So next match we have Sarah McMahon versus...
Akiko Sanada.
And again, there's a big size difference here.
Sawada? Is that
Confidence, Austin. Constant.
It's a
Sawada. Akiko Sawada.
Listen, man, I handwrote my notes.
I typed my notes incorrectly. Dude, all my notes, every second word or third word in my notes has a red underline. I have guillotine spelled incorrectly and with an equal sign in between the I, the G, the I, and the U.
Gi equals Oyuchian.
Yeah. So like we should not be going off my notes for spelling. So the size difference I had on this was a huge factor. McMahon gets a takedown, goes to mount with the arm triangle, and is able to get it.
Yeah, it took like a minute and a half to get the finish.
Yeah. So again, we've seen McMahon come through now and get 2 really quick subs. So that's kind of the flavor of like this team matchup, Team Chlorella versus Team Bijide Kunoichi, is like sub, and then flipped McMahon, sub, and so now we have Sarah McMahon versus Rikako Yuasa. And Rikako is the most decorated female jiu-jitsu of all time. Like world champion 2015, 16, 17, 18. I don't think she's 14. I don't know. But like multiple time IBJJF world champion monster. And Sarah McMahon is once again the bigger grappler. It's really evident. And you can tell how much stronger she is, but you can tell how good Rikako is here.
Yeah, this was like a really cool version of like that style matchup where like a really strong wrestler fights a really technical grappler, and you kind of see where that happens right off the bat. Rikako sits as Sarah shoots, and it's kind of like, that was interesting. And they kind of start going towards out of bounds, if I remember correctly, because they end up restarting in ref's position.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so she ends up taking her back.
Yeah, so basically, Sarah McMahon goes on a referee's position, and Akako starts on the top of referee's position, and it starts, and Akako immediately kind of jumps into the back.
Yep.
And it takes her a second to get the second hook in, but you saw like, oh shit, you do not want Yuasa on your back.
Yep.
Because that's not a good spot to be.
Yeah, exactly. She starts with this fall-off kind of triangle, ends up switching it to an armbar, and then she ends up winning by armbar.
Yeah. Really impressive. Like again, this is one of the matchups I really wanted to see. I wanted to see how Yuasa dealt with kind of the pressure wrestling, forward pressure, and just like really good top positional work of Sarah McMahon. So it was really cool. The restart was a little interesting. I didn't really understand why the restart occurred. To be serious here, like I watched it a couple times, and I think it's a failing of my understanding of the rules because it was somewhat confusing for me to figure out like why they restarted in a referee's position.
Yeah, they didn't make that abundantly clear in the commentary either. And then it seemed like Rikako didn't really know what ref's position was exactly. Like they were kind of positioning their hands. Sarah was kind of motioning like, no, you grab my tricep. And she like grabbed her arm in like a weird way. She's like, fuck it, we'll just do it live.
Yeah, well, because it was funny that you could tell the referee was a Japanese referee because
Right.
the referee is trying to get Sarah McMahon to go on all fours into the position, and Sarah McMahon like is giving the referee the look like, "Wait, what the fuck are we doing?"
Yeah.
And then that was the whole restart there was pretty funny because you saw both competitors and the referee. There was like a language gap, and then there was like a positional misunderstanding. And I really enjoy like you saw everyone kind of like be professional and just like work and figure it out.
Right.
And it just made me like, 'cause you saw Sarah McMahon visibly give the referee the what the fuck, like what am I gonna do? Like happy to do it, but just didn't understand what the ref wanted from her.
Right.
And then the ref was like pointing with her hands like down, and she's like putting her hands out. It made me laugh. So then the last match of spoiler, last match, where we have Lukaku Yuasa versus
Miyu Yamamoto.
Yeah,
Sorry, question mark at the end of that one too.
That's correct. Yeah, Miyu Yamamoto, she is Kid Yamamoto's sister.
Oh, is it?
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So
So we're back to the 8-minute match on this one. I think there's like a 6 kilogram allowance between weights. So if you're within 6 or 7 kilograms, then the match is 8 minutes.
I thought it was 20 kilograms.
Not for this.
Oh, because the women are different. I forgot about. Oh, that's why. Okay, because for the men, I want to say it's a 20 kilo difference.
Right. So you saw a lot more 4-minute matches in this format than you would have seen in some of the previous all-male events.
That's why. That explains it. See, Austin, this is why we had you on, because you pay attention to shit.
Sometimes.
That's a question mark. So one big takeaway I took is Lukaku uses the Sean Williams guard like a lot in this, and I haven't seen she uses this a lot. I don't see a whole lot of other grapplers use this. I'm not sure when's the last time we've seen anyone use Sean Williams guard.
Yeah, not that I can really remember. Like I see a lot of 10th Planet people use a position they call 100%, where it's kind of similar.
That's my favorite position.
Is it really?
Dude, because it's a turnover.
Yeah.
All right, so we explained the 100% on the show because I explained it to Emil because Emil didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It is basically a turnover if you grab the far side arm and you clasp your hands together and you rotate someone over from like a butterfly guard or from a guard into the mounted position.
Right.
And it's really cool. But Sean Williams guard is basically a variation of kind of like you're going to a rubber guard, but you grab underneath someone's armpit and you grab over top of the shoulder. It's like a variation of Western guard or Russian guard.
Right.
There's a old school Sherdog post on it years ago, which is just beautifully explaining all the different intricacies of Sean Williams guard, but you don't see a ton of people recently. I think it started to fall out of favor in probably 2012, 2013 is when kind of the last remnants where I saw people using it.
Of 100% or Sean Williams?
Sean Williams guard.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of omoplata players still like it. Like I know Monroe still likes it from our gym. But
yeah. But you see guys shoot over for it. But I saw Lukaku using it, and it was really interesting because you don't see the position used a ton. And if she's using it, you know it's really good because she's one of the most dominant women in the history of the sport.
Right.
So that was interesting. That was one of my big takeaways for this match was her using that. I was like, oh, shit, look at that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, she ended up snagging an armbar again with like a really similar smash position. She starts belly down, and it starts for the fall-off armbar. She ends up winning, and the team advances.
Yeah. Basically, so there's a restart on this as well, but it was that's what happened. So Lukaku's team BJJ Konoichi takes out Team BJJ Corella, and now we move on to Team 10th Planet versus Team BJJ Konoichi. So we start out with the members of Team 10th Planet that haven't had to go yet, and the members of Team BJJ Konoichi that haven't had to go yet. We have, give me the names here, man.
Lila Maja Cruz.
Yep, versus
Iori Ichigo.
Okay, cool. I realized I wrote half the names on my notes, so super professional here at the Grappling Rewind.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really good back-and-forth match with some footlock attempts. Eventually, Ayla is able to get on the back, but Lori's doing a really good job of making the angle, and this match goes to draw. What do you got? What do you got on the match?
That's pretty much it. Lila had a few toe hold attempts, had some back control of a spider web that she ended up getting an armbar attempt in. But it was really close. It ended up going to a draw. No one won.
Yeah. So next match we have both grapplers are eliminated. We want a Fabiana George versus
Nanami Ichikawa.
So Ichikawa locks up like a tight Darce and fights through it for a really good percentage of the match. And there you see tons of shift position. You see like she's trapping George's leg. She's not trapping George's leg. She's rolling to the back. She's rolling forward. And like I was just really impressed with the length of time that Ichikawa is able to hold the Darce there.
Yeah, she had a bunch of different Darce attempts, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And it seemed like George kind of lasted through all of them. Like she wasn't really... I don't know. They look pretty tight to me.
She was making really good adjustments. And you saw her a lot of times doing the press-up position with her hands like off to like make space on the hips from Ichikawa. And I was really impressed with Georgia's performance here, like being able to like stay in the Darce for that long and continue to defend, have the wherewithal and peace of mind and like clarity to continue to defend through all of those different transitions and like being really active but never over committing in order to allow Ichikawa to make the angle.
Right,
like,
for sure.
That was my big takeaway of because I should defend the Darce like shit. And so I watched that match like, why isn't she not going to sleep?
Yeah, it took a really long time. So it made me think like, man, maybe her squeeze, maybe she's not applying like the hardest squeeze the entire time because she didn't get burnt out either on the top. Right. So it's like maybe she's not applying the hardest squeeze ever because she just wants to milk the tap. But I don't know. It seemed like she just had a really good bottom game defense against Darce chokes.
It was cool because I'm shitty at the Darce, and so from a watching perspective, I was really interested on both sides of this. Like, okay, how's she defending? How's she adjusting? What does she want? How is she able to adjust? It was definitely a nifty match to watch personally for me because I know the lackings of my Darce game, so I rewatched it to like figure out what was going on there. So both grapplers are eliminated. So again, we've moved through both grapplers that have not gone for each team, and we're now on to Yuki Sugi versus Elvira Karppinen. So we move into the third match of BJJ Kunoichi versus Team 10 Planet in the finals. So
this was a little impressive. I mean, you just watched Elvira tap an entire team, so she's got to be tired, but she's had a pretty long break between, the two tournament sides of the bracket. So
because we had some super fights between this as well, and the whole other team, BJJ Kunoichi versus Team Corella, went before this. So she had some good recovery time, but you still had to go against a bunch of people before that were fresh. So potentially there's a little bit of fatigue working, and again, it's why the format is so interesting.
Yep. So Karppinen's really attacking on this deep head and arm triangle. Yuki Suguichi kind of survives it. She's also the one who tapped a bunch of people with a triangle armbar combination. So it's kind of like, let's see these two submission artists go against each other. So it was really interesting.
It was nifty.
Yeah. It ends up in a draw, which if you just saw the results, you wouldn't really realize like how close it was or what these two did before that. But yeah, it was a really cool match.
Yeah. So next match we have Grace Gundrum versus Akako Yuasa. Akako locks up a triangle and Grace is able to escape. There's a really interesting thing here. Grace is able to basically pull out and like starts to try a passing sequence.
Yeah, she started it out from or Akako did, from a triangle Omo attempt, and then Grace ended up having, both of them kind of had a lot of leg entanglement attempts.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they cleared their knee line so quickly that neither one of them really had really big attempts on like submissions that would have made a difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was a lot of like not having an established position.
Right.
And there was a lot of like leg pummeling, and Grace goes for a couple times on a knee bar, but she's always above the knee because Akako identifies it early, and like neither of them really get deep. And like again, they're clearing it so quickly. There's a lot of that weird like leg footsie almost, where it's like both grapplers are on their side, kind of half engaging, and there's like inversions because both women are smaller and very flexible and like aware of the leg game and aware of the top side arm game, and there's no points, so no one really has like need to come up and play from a down at top position to score points. So it was.
Speaking of, I think that's probably a symptom of the rule set, right? Like, they're really quick to give out shidos or kind of warnings for inactivity. So it's like maybe they're trying these sub attempts to stay in the position they're in, but let the ref know they're still working. Because I don't know, you go for like a leg lock, but it's kind of half-hearted. But yeah, now we're still stuck in this leg entanglement because the ref's not going to restart us.
Right. It was interesting. It was there was no point aside from Rikako's triangle that I really thought it was like, okay, this is a really legit sub attempt. I was really impressed with like Grace getting out of it in the way she did.
For sure.
But there was a lot of like footsie back and forth between the two grapplers.
Right.
So it goes to a draw, and then we move on to, so basically at this point we're in the finals. We've had a draw in the first match, a draw in the second match, a draw in the third match, a draw in the fourth match, and we move on to the final matchup, which is Liz Carmouche versus
Akiko Sawada. So Liz attempted several chokes and kind of nearly won with this last second toe hold. So Sawada taps to it, but it was after the time went out. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you got. I've been cutting you off literally the entire time we've been recording.
Yeah. So it ended up going to a draw, which was kind of like, man, like she did have like a couple sub attempts, and that toe hold did tap her, but it was just after the time went up. So it ended up going to like a decision. So they're totaling up how many stall warnings they had, who was more aggressive, etc. Because there's no points. Keep that in mind. So 10th Planet ends up winning because they had less stall warnings.
Basically.
Yeah.
So that was, but it was, again, you had 4 draws in the final. And so the match was interesting because Liz Carmouche, she's deep on the toe hold at the end, and you hear the buzzer go off. I'm not sure if Liz didn't hear it or like continued to fight, because it looks like Sawada stops defending the foot kind of, and Liz like still cranks, and you can tell Sawada's foot is injured after that.
Yeah,
she's
for sure.
she's limping really heavy, and it's kind of like, that sucks. Like
Right.
that the ref wasn't right there to stop it. That like you got an injury after the match ended, and so Team 10 Planet takes this. I don't know how we address all the draws. And speaking honestly, like we've never had an event like this that resulted in so many draws. The matches weren't bad, but it was definitely not as interesting as the other quintet finals.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's a rule, if there's a way to adjust it, or if maybe the differential in size needs to change, or if I don't really know. It was just interesting to have 5 draws in a row for the finals and then it go to decision. It wasn't like there was a sub or you had 5 draws, which is maybe speaks to the matchmaking where you have 2 very even teams for whatever reasons, or everything plays out equally. But it was definitely, I don't think it's what we were looking for the event, as far as like the level of activity, because the event is kind of, I'm trying to speak not sound like an idiot here. The event's sort of set up to produce and foster action, which it definitely did, but it also actively looks for people that are actively submitting.
Right.
And so because we had 5 draws in the finals, potentially there needs to be something changed here. I'm not sure if that's allowing heel hooks or limiting even more time in the closed guard. I'm not really sure how to address it, but there's something that needs to be looked at here with that many draws happening. But that being said, we had the first 2 rounds that were great with tons of really exciting sub attempts on either side. So I don't know if it was just a fluke or if there's something that needs to be changed in the rules here, but it was definitely, I would have liked to see some submissions at the end.
Yeah, same. Of course, that's what you watch these types of events for, right? You can watch a sub-only event to see submissions.
Right.
But I don't really know, and I'm just spitballing here, but I don't really know of a rule that would force that to happen unless like you start counting sub attempts or making sub attempts worthwhile.
Yeah, which I still think like is about,
you start making it a game. It just goes back to points.
It's gamified, yeah, and I don't like that. This is the first time we've run into the problem with quintet, but it definitely was a problem here. Where you have the finals ending and every single one is a draw,
right?
And it goes to a decision. It's like that's just like a weird. It doesn't necessarily. It's not the way that the event is structured to kind of run. And there's something to look at there. I don't know. It was definitely a fun event. It was fun to watch. You can watch it on Fight Pass. Click right through. It's not too long to watch. I watched it in a couple hours.
Yeah.
Commentaries, again, amazing. Explain things very well. Interesting grapplers. Some nice matches. We'll talk about super fights?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we had Saruto Debana versus Hobson Tano.
Oh, so we're just going to skip over the fun time exhibition match that Saku had?
That was last quintet.
Oh, they played that in this one too.
Yeah.
Was it really from the last quintet?
You want to talk about it again?
I mean, no, not if you covered it already.
Do you have notes? I remember it from last time.
I just thought it was weird. But here's my quick.
So Austin's gonna break down a match from the last quintet in case you missed it.
Here's my quick rundown. Why did it happen? I get it. Like, I think Japanese culture kind of has this like, this honor, like respect, like playful, even though we're like in the hurting business kind of thing. But it was just kind of weird. And maybe if I heard like Saku's run up and commentary or like his speech running up to it before, maybe it would have made more sense to me. But I was just kind of left kind of confused.
But you don't speak Japanese and didn't understand it?
I can't even pronounce names in Japanese apparently.
Yeah.
So he straight ankle locks the guy. Then they restart and keep going. And I'm just sitting there like scratching my head like, what is happening?
Yeah,
this is cool, I guess. I love Sakuraba, so like, cool, I get to watch him grapple, apparently, again. But yeah, a little bit weird. I didn't really know why I was thrown in there. Maybe they were just trying to fill some time. I don't know.
That you gave literally the exact same reaction that we had. I forget who broke this down from last time. It might have been Josh.
Yeah.
The exact same reaction we had last time, where it's just like, what is this match? Like everything it's like super serious. You have high level grapplers on either side, and like both these guys are high level. Yeah. But it was just like this weird, like showcasey, like circusy catch wrestling, like old style work match.
Like, dude, I already have Fight Pass, and I'm already watching a pure grappling event. You don't have to sell me on grappling.
Yeah, it's like Sakuraba. I've seen you fight. Like,
yeah,
that's why I'm watching you in the first place.
Yeah,
so
it
was
odd.
funny, and so I think it's really funny that you forgot that. You didn't see it last time.
Yeah, I didn't see it last time, I guess. So
That's really funny. So on to the matches that actually took place. Watch that match have actually been a match, like a new match, and I just like skipped over because I saw it was the same thing.
Oh.
And watched it have actually been a new match.
Yeah.
So on to the match that actually took place on this event. Satoru Debana versus Hobson Tano. I think I butchered the names way worse that last time. Dude, Satoru is the guy from last Quintet that was just a fucking monster from the judo team and just chucking guys and then armbarring him.
Yep.
We saw the same thing. He throws, and they go back. There's 2 armbar attempts. Both are super deep from Debana. And eventually on the second one, he's able to basically, he gets a top crucifix and then is able to spin around and then take the arm. And it's super laid out, and it's just great. What else you want to add on this match?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Tano's armbar escape, like right off the bat, Shitaro throws a really deep armbar from like kind of not really flying, but kind of from his butt, like this really quick hip extension armbar.
Yeah.
And it looked deep. Like it looked like he was in trouble. Tano gets out. That was really impressive that he even got out.
Dude, I thought he got him because it was deep. The shoulder was up. It was extended. The elbow was it wasn't like, almost a little bit. It was all the way out.
Yeah.
Like nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Like it was in. And then he's able to get out. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. I also thought Debana had a really cool style. Trying to crucifix your other arm while he attacked the close arm. So and the commentators kind of alluded to this. He's always kind of dual attacking with subs.
Yeah.
Some people do this positionally, but it was really cool to see him kind of use this alternate position that doesn't get used a whole lot at high level BJJ, but probably is a lot better for judo. But work in this submission grappling kind of format.
It was super nifty. I like watching Debana.
Yeah.
Like he is one of my favorite guys. Like last time on the Team Judo, he was a super standout, and I was super happy to see him featured on a super fight here because he was so exciting last time. He's the kind of guy that I want to see on Quintet. Like he gets the format, he gets what they're trying to do. He's super flashy, he's super aggressive with the sub attempts, and like the pressure is always there. At no point does he like disengage. Like he's just constantly going forward. And like that style of grappler is what I want to see featured on Quintet.
For sure.
Super awesome to have in a super fight. So the next match we have Tomogishi Seta versus Shuto Watanabe. Watanabe.
There you go. So there's a topside guillotine, step over, and then he ends up in a reverse triangle, which I thought that was like, what in the world? Like that series of events was kind of confusing, but also pretty awesome. I would highly recommend checking it out. He ends up finishing the triangle from his guard. So just to recap what I just said, because it sounds confusing. Topside guillotine, steps over to a reverse triangle.
Say the people who did it.
Oh, so I think it was Shuto to try this, right?
No, it's Tomogishi Seta is the one that wins this. We had 2 Japanese guys, so that's why it gets confusing. I apologize.
The names confuse me, man.
Dude, names confuse me, and also names that are not English confuse me even more, and so I get dudes mixed up. But we've seen Tomosheta before. So that's why I'm like more familiar with him. I'm not sure if we've seen Watanabe. What'd I say?
Who knows?
Seen him before. The whole transition at the end here was really interesting. Yeah, Sarah. We've seen Sarah before featured on Quintet before. He locks up a really interesting triangle. Like he's in it for a long period of time. They're in it. He's working the angle, and he's eventually able to get the tap.
Yeah. So then he ends up finishing on the bottom with a triangle. He started his triangle from. I think he started from side control or something goofy. Like he had a topside guillotine. He ends up stepping over to get like a reverse triangle, and then ends up finishing on the bottom with a guard triangle. Yeah. So it was a really cool series of submissions that he chained together, and not something you typically see.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. So that was Quintet Fight Night 3. I highly recommend you go back and watch it. It was on Fight Pass. You can go through the whole event relatively quickly. Again, great commentary, great event. Highly recommend it. So on to our recap of Fight to Win 107 in Tingsboro, Massachusetts. This is Fight to Win Boston for me. This event paid at a total of $27,289 in salaries and commissions and was headlined by black belt Ana Carolina Vieira versus Luisa Montera. And Ana Carolina is able to defeat Luisa Montera via decision. Where do you want to start with this one, Austin? Do you want to start with the top of the card, or do you want to start with the fight of the night, or start with the submission of the night? There's no fight of the night listed for these results, so I am not certain. I know what my fight of the night is for the black belts, honestly.
Yeah. Let's start with the black belts and then work our way through the card.
Let's use it. What match do you want to start with?
Ooh, let's start with Ana Carolina. That was the main
let's start on the top of the card. Ana Carolina Vieira defeats Luisa Montera via decision.
Yep. So Luisa's a 7 times Pans winner and a 2 times Worlds winner. Ana is a 7-time Worlds winner, and she's like the Fight to Win light and feather champion, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have Ana as the front runner in my eyes to win the Worlds this year.
That makes sense. I mean,
that does. It's like one of those dumb picks where it's like, yeah, no shit, Maine. It's like, all right, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
So attritive pressure. That's all I can say about this match. Like, it was just Anna pressuring.
Yeah, Montero held De La Riva for like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And then Vieira pretty much stayed patient. She kept alternating between double collar grip and a pant grip, gripping the De La Riva leg, kind of extending it out. She ends up smash passing really cleanly after holding it for super long. Ends up getting a knee on belly. She looked for a bread cutter. She ends up mounting her towards the end.
But what amazed me the most about this was Anna just kind of crawling up the position.
Yep.
And slowly, like, never taking a step, like the Hickson way.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
I get to 1, I'm not going back. I get to 2, I'm not going back to 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what I saw. Just like every position, she just like took it away. Stepped. It was a slow match.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in a bad way. In just like,
It was dominant.
This is what dominant, pressure heavy jiu-jitsu looks like. Oh, and Luisa Montero is number 2 in the world at featherweight.
Yeah.
Like Anna Carolina did this to Luisa Montero, who's also a world-class level black belt.
For sure.
And it was just
another world champion.
Yeah, it was just amazing for me to watch like Anna be so good and like just slowly take positions away and like get out of De La Riva, get through pressure, side control, pressure, knee on belly, mount. And it was just to watch her walk up was just a treat to watch. You don't see at a high level like this very many performances where someone can't like scramble out of one point or produce like action explosive. It was just a walking up of the positional ladder, and then she's able to. She doesn't get a submission, which I kind of wanted to see, but takes a comfortable, clean decision.
Yeah, it was a definition of methodical.
Yeah, and it was just, again, we kind of sometimes shit on matches like this, but this match was just really heavy, amazing pressure from 2 of the top women in the world. And I really love that this is the top match on the card, because this showcases like not all good jiu-jitsu is necessarily like the flashy fun shit. It's like sometimes it's just, I'm going to take positions away from you and you cannot get them back.
Right.
So it was a cool ass match. So next match we have Gustavo Batista defeating Rolando Montero via split decision. We have Ryan Clay defeating Paul Gorman via toe hold. And that was submission of the night for the black belts.
Yeah, this was a really cool match to watch throughout. The finish was really cool, but Clay had this really beautiful mix of butterfly and leg lock attempts. He kept trying to come up to a crab ride. Gorman kept clearing it. Really good knee peeling from Gorman, too, on leg lock attempts. So
yeah, I met Gorman before.
Cool
Super nice guy. Back when I used to live up in Maine, he trains out of the academy, and actually J-Jack was in his corner, and so it was cool. Yeah, it was, dude, I think this is at 45.
I think you're right, yeah.
I think Gorman used to fight at 35, and then I think he went down to 25 for a little bit. So it's cool to see him taking a fight much more close to his natural weight class. Again, both guys just active the whole time.
Yep.
And it was cool to see like the mix up the right. Like, neither of these guys were uncomfortable in either position and willing to push the action in every single phase of the fight and at every single position. And eventually Gorman goes on a leg lock and Ryan counters with like a super deep toe hold and is able to just turn over and get it.
Yeah, Gorman was reaping, kind of like a De La Riva reap, and while Ryan was standing. So he had like a heel hook on like his outside leg, and then as Clay was falling, he kind of catches this toe hold, and as he's falling, it's getting tighter and tighter. And when he eventually drops to his butt, it was kind of too much for him to take.
Yeah, it was one of those falling toe holds where it's like it's so hard to like defend because the other guy, basically you can't free your hips out of the position. And so as Ryan is falling, he's able to put more pressure and really put the toes into the butt to finish the toe hold, and there's no way for Gorman to basically out-scramble faster than Ryan can fall. So
yeah, it was a great step across by Clay. He steps across. I'm getting confused with names.
Gorman's?
Yeah, he steps across Gorman's body.
Yeah, it's
to
a lot.
Avoid the heel hook.
You've been with names. You've been with names for like 2.5 hours now. It all sorts of stumbled together.
I know. So he steps across his body to avoid one heel hook, which sets him up for another. But as he's doing that, he catches a toe hold on the way down. It was perfect. It was a great finish. Great attempts by both guys to like try to finish the match at the end.
And it's deservedly submission of the night for the black belts.
Yep.
Like it was cool. So next match we have Avelia Seneca. Jesus, that was See, this is why like we're both bad at names, and so everyone strap in.
Everton Seneca Silva
for the butchering of 2018 or 2019.
Don't even know what year it is.
Dude, I don't. Defeats Joe Apartesano via decision. Moving on to Nick Rodriguez defeating Tyler King via decision. Let's talk about Nick the Show Pony Rodriguez.
Yeah, so he's out of Henzo Gracie, New Jersey, but he also trains at
we know who he
HQ.
is.
I'm explaining for the listeners who don't know.
If you don't know who Nick Rodriguez is, go to our website. Not the grappling.
Pick up the rock that you've been under. Crawl out from under it and look at grappling stuff in the last year.
We have 2 articles on our website. One of them is an article titled, Who is Nick Rodriguez? www.grapplingrewind.com. There you can find our events list, as well as that article. I highly recommend you go and read it. Nick Rodriguez is a dude to watch. And Tyler King is undefeated at Fight to Win. Nogi world champion, like, no slouch.
Came out to a dope song, J-Rack Win. Dope song.
I love that song. So, Nick Rodriguez, this was a positional and pressure-heavy wrestling match.
Yeah.
Like, really. And we see more of Nick's wrestling chops come in here, like multiple takedowns, different takedowns, double legs, snap downs, like the whole gambit. And we saw Nick really play a smart positional game. Like, whenever Tyler started to engage in the guard, you see Nick, like, really decide not to play the guard and get out and really understand, like, okay, I do not want to be in this guy's guard. I want to be engaged in the wrestling, be active on the feet, and not getting myself into positions that I do not want to fight from.
Right, and that's not to say that he didn't engage him at all on the ground. There's a few times where Nick had some takedowns, some single legs, some fireman's carries, where he ends up accepting side control. So if he got to side control, it looked like a very tight game plan. Like, if I get to side control or nearly to, like, I don't know, like 3/4 mount or something, then I'll play from there. But if I end up in Tyler King's open guard, like, no, I'll back out, let it stand back up. I'm going to try another takedown. Yeah. That's kind of the game he played for the entire match.
And that's the game he's probably going to be looking at playing more as he gets closer to ADCC. Like, I spoke to him at Finishers 8 in New Jersey a couple weeks ago, probably a month and a half ago at this point. And that basically he was talking about he's working on his guard. He's working on other aspects of his game that are not as strong. Sure. And so it's really cool to see him make a Fight to Win debut at black belt. When he's, I mean, it's no-gi, so he's technically, it's no-belted, but he's a blue belt in the gi, right, and take on a no-gi world champion in Tyler King and be able to take him to decision and win a decision. Like, again, every time we cover Nick, I'm more and more impressed with his performance. I'm more and more impressive with the things he's showing us. I'm more impressive with his ability to game plan and stick to a defined game plan, right, and then execute that. Yep. So it's really cool. I love watching guys in their run-up to ADCC. We saw Tex Jhonson this week. We saw Pena this week. We saw Craig Jones this week. We saw all the guys we saw this week. Nick is another guy in the run-up to ADCC that we got to see and cover this week, so it's awesome.
Yep, it'll be really interesting to see how that kind of relentless wrestling style stacks up against the more seasoned jiu-jitsu guys.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, ADCC is like, it's a wrestling tournament almost. It's a submission wrestling tournament. Grappling tournament. So
for sure.
They reward takedowns a lot, so it'll be really interesting to see how he fares. So next match, we have Dan Dykeman defeating Thiago Alves via decision. We had Jared Lawton defeating Luis Cruz via split decision. We had Pedro Paulo Agruzzi defeating Gillian Costa. We had Ben Wade defeating Gilmar Santos. We had Mateus Gonzalez defeating Felipe Simleco. We had Lucas Dantas.
That's the one you want to stop on to reset for names. You butchered so many of these names. Keep it going.
Now, you do it.
I definitely don't want to read names.
Yo, talk shit. Keep going. Ooh. It's on you now.
Where are we at? Lucas Dantas defeats Douglas Lemus in a decision. Man. Corey Guitard defeats Dan Simler in a decision.
Under the brown belt results, we have Quentin Frosty defeating Pat Higgins via decision. We have Ray Shandy defeating Tyler Tabot via triangle. We have James Downing defeating Nate Morrison via calf slicer. And that was submission of the night for the brown belts. We have Joe, give me that name?
I'm going to say Guidus.
Guidus defeating Sanders Forgrasso via choke. We have Haleen Saided defeating Saul Almeida via decision. We have Aaron
Benzarim
defeating Gabriel Bryant via decision. And we have Troy Everett defeating Scott Gelrich via decision.
Yeah, dope walkout by Troy Everett.
It was an okay walkout this time. Don't give him too much credit. He looked happy as shit. Dude, he opened up the card. This match was like 30 minutes in. Like, usually we see him like higher up on the card, but he was probably busy, so we had to put his match earlier on the card again.
If you come out to like Pop or Butt Rock or like Celine Dion or something kind of lame, but you kind of dance to it and you feel like you're into it, I'm into your walkout, so I dug it.
So you got to be into every single one of Troy's walkouts, because it's always some 90s pop song with him just having a good fucking time to be like, dude, Troy exemplifies the biggest party in grappling. Like he just happened to be there. So it's awesome. Let's move on to the judo results. I realize that these are out of sequence in the way we're reading them out, because there's a judo matchup that I really want to talk about, which is Fight of the Night for the black belts. So before that, we have Rick Hahn defeating Muli Cole via 1 Ippon to 0. Good match, dynamic.
Yeah, Rick's a former Olympian. He fought in Bellator. He won both the welterweight and the lightweight tournaments.
You said that in like the most as a former Olympian, like you didn't.
No, he's a beast. I think he came in like 9th in the Olympics, which is not a small feat just to make the Olympic team, let alone compete in it.
But your inflection was just like, oh, he's Olympian.
I'm just listing off credentials. These aren't like
you were reading it off in your head. You looked at me and he's like, oh, he's an Olympian.
Yeah, he's a beast. So no small feat for Mooney Cole to even step in there with him. He had a really cool like gripping sequence where he passes like the cross collar grip to himself. Like left hand opens the left collar and then he passes it to his right hand and then he ended up getting like a couple cool takedowns off of that.
Yeah. Have you watched judo before? Have you watched much judo before?
Only at the Olympic level, and I think this rule set's a lot cooler because it's a lot more easy to digest for like grapplers like myself who understand what takedowns look like and how they work mechanically, but the weird point system of Olympic judo is not something I understand.
That level of confidence, great. Who understand what takedowns look like?
Yeah,
like I've seen a takedown or two in my day. Just the way you said that was like the most.
What's a Seonagi? I have heard of him.
What's a Moroto Seonagi? Oh, that's his brother. Like
yeah,
no,
exactly.
No, not quite. It's always great to have like white belts come in like, oh, I do, and I Seonage. You're like, yeah, guess you did.
You read
buddy.
it on YouTube. Got it.
Yeah, you did, buddy. So again, super cool. Like I love like the high level judo they're bringing. And this was like one of the first fight to wins where the commentary you tell like knew like regular Budo on commentary is amazing. Knows judo, understood it, understood the rules, could explain it really well to the audience, and like it was really cool. He's one of the better judo commentators I've heard for Fight to Win, and that's really great. I love that he was really able to explain to all the positions and explain what was happening and why things were scored and what they were looking for. Fight to Win uses that old school judo rule set, so leg grabs are legal, and like Jay was able to explain it all, and I was super happy about that. I always like love hearing Jay on commentary. He does most of the East Coast events for Fight to Win, and I always get excited when they come to the East Coast because I'm a huge fan of him as a commentator. So let's move on to the black belt fight of the night. Give me the name, Austin.
Oh my god, dude, I can't read this. Serge Boisu, Sarik. No wait, is that backwards?
So Sarik El Yorki defeats Serge Boisu III via decision. This was fight of the night for judo.
Eli Sarikbayev. That's the guy's name, right?
Eli Sarikbayev?
That might even be wrong. Sarikbayev. I thought it was his name.
Sarik. Let's call him Sarik.
Okay.
Because, so Sarik, this match was one of the, I think, fastest paced judo matchups Fight to Win has ever put on. And like, I was watching this live at the gym on the elliptical because that's all I can do right now with my broken back. And I was like, oh shit, this is fire. And I'm like not pedaling along, like ellipticaling along. I'm like watching this on my phone, just like, holy shit, I'm gonna have to watch this again and take notes at home.
Yeah. It was really cool to see the opposite side of the grappling coin. So Boisu has this double leg that he tries. He gets really deep on it, and then Sarikbayev has a really good roll through. That's the first score of the match. I thought that was really cool. That's like a thing you see in jiu-jitsu sometimes, but not often enough. Sometimes you see it in MMA. Like I know the Diaz brothers are really good at it.
Yeah.
Somebody gets in on a double and they end up like Kimoring and then just kind of doing like a back roll to end up like sweeping.
But you don't see it like be super successful very often.
Right.
And so it's really cool to see it like, oh, this is how this is supposed to look. And like that's why I like Fight to Win showcasing judo, because you see a lot of the takedowns that jiu-jitsu guys can't usually do well.
Right.
Like done, oh, this is how it's supposed to look in a competitive judo setting. Like this match showed that. It's like, oh, this is what high-level active judo in the old-school rule set is supposed to look like when like Fight to Win puts it on.
Right.
And I really want to highlight that as much because it is so deserving of fight of the night for the black belts in this.
Yeah. It's a really good match. One thing I would comment on like the judo in general, it'd be really cool to see a high-level wrestler who doesn't typically fight in the gi like undergo this rule set.
Ooh.
I think that'd be interesting because like double legs are allowed, single legs are allowed, but you also have the gi there to stop you. So it'd be really cool to see like a really high-level Olympian like judo guy going against like a really high level D1 maybe wrestler.
Oh, that's exciting.
Rules. Yeah.
I just thought about that. It's a possibility now because they can run. Oh shit, that's really exciting, Austin.
Yeah.
See, this is why we brought you on the show, because you have a new thing you can think about. Because you can potentially see those like style versus style matchups again. Like, oh, how does a wrestler do? Because we've seen a lot of like,
we see that for like the submission side, but we don't necessarily see it for the takedown side. And
where you
to
can
say
score.
that wrestling's not like American wrestling's not one of the premier takedown arts, you'd be fooling yourself. So it'd be really cool to see that stack up against judo.
Wrestling in general.
Right.
So like would you score it for judo? Would you score it by wrestling? Would you like have it like pin scores like
I would score judo rules because you're still in the gi.
Okay, that's reasonable. That's really cool. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
All right. So that was a fun match. Anything else to add on that one?
No, it was the judo rule set was really cool. if you're gonna watch any of the judo matches, that would definitely be the one I check out. The pace was really fast, and it was really easy to understand like what was happening.
Yeah, again, the commentary was really great for that.
Also, shout out to Seth for like keeping pace with all those guys and trying to keep them in bounds. That was pretty nuts.
I think Sarik or Serge lands on his broken hand at one point.
Like, did he really?
On the match, yeah. And there's a cool still frame of Seth. I think it's this event. Like, he's hoisting someone back onto the mat. And I love how close to the edge of the mat Seth will let it go.
Yeah. He was like, really great job reffing.
He's the CEO of Fight to Win. Like, he understands exactly what he's looking for his promotion. And that shows through here. Like, I like he's reffing more judo matches because he gets that he's one of the highest level of judo guys that he can get on a regular basis. And so he actually understands the judo and understands what he's looking for. And, like, I like that he's reffing these because he gets it. He knows what he's looking for. He knows what is supposed to be happening. So on to the next match. We have, give me the name there.
Michelle Marcus
versus
Welisa Perez.
Yeah, defeats Welisa Perez. And next match we have Marcos Silva defeating Gene Turnock via 1 Ippon-0. On to the purple belt and the blue belt results. We have Greg
Sinelli
defeating
Mike Hounahan
via split decision. We have Charlie Lobeb defeating Andrew Kimball via decision. We have Maria Kipros defeating Jessica Camelise via decision. We have Christopher DeJesus defeating Jordan
Boisvert
via split decision. We have
Matt Kavanaugh.
That's Matt, isn't it?
It is Matt.
There's no I in
all
there.
Day.
Man, this is tough. Defeating Leandro.
Probably Rothier
via decision. We have Kevin
Benetti
defeating Phil Kaysen via decision. We have Ashley Cruz defeating Christine Brothwell via decision. We have Julia Balmate defeating Christian
Monticelli
via rear naked choke. We have Angel Rodriguez Jr. defeating John.
It's definitely Wang
via footlock. We have Drewy Yedon defeating Joshua Parker via triangle. We have
Placido
Carl Santos defeating Luis Garcia via armbar. And in the teens results, we have Nicole Leo defeating Maddie Lee via decision and Nicholas Markland defeating Logan Statuk via triangle. And that was submission night for the kids and teens. I apologize to everyone that just had to get through that, whatever the fuck that just was.
You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you did this in like elementary school. We have to like read into like a tape recorder. If you ever have to like play that back, it is brutal. It's
you have
like
to read into a tape recorder?
Yeah, like
what does that mean?
Well, like it's like you and the teacher, and you're like reading a book, struggling to learn how to read when you're in like first grade or something.
You know, I have a bunch of head trauma, and I don't remember most of my childhood.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I'm missing like about 13 and everything before 13.
Is this like part of your like spelling ability / reading ability?
Oh, I'm just dumb.
Affected?
That's just dumb. I also have dyscalculia, which is basically like I invert right. I can't do right and left. I can't read like an analog clock.
Derek Zoolander has that. He's not an ambi-turner.
It's basically that for dumb people.
The same thing.
So yeah, I apologize to everyone whose names honestly, I do apologize for everyone's name I just butchered. I'm
sorry for being confident where Maine wasn't, and I'm probably still wrong.
Yeah, we're about 2+ hours in at this point, and I'm struggling with the names more so than usual. So that was Fight to Win 107 in Tingsboro, Massachusetts. Highly recommend go back and watch it. Let's move on to the preview section for the show. So like we said before, on to the preview section for the show, on to Fight to Win 108 taking place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on April 12th. I'm going to be at this event, and I am super excited. Not competing, just talking to y'all. So this is main evented by black belt featherweight no-gi title Eddie Cummings versus William Woke on tag team. Dude, this is great. We have not seen Eddie since... he has not defended his Fight to Win title, I think, since 2017. So this is super exciting to see Eddie Cummings back main eventing a Fight to Win in Philadelphia in a place I can go see him grapple live. Like, he's had 3 matches in the past 3 years, and so for me to go and be able to get to see him, I'm amped.
Yeah, man, it'll be a really good match.
Austin shaking his head like, that's all you got?
That's all I got.
All right, on to the next match. We have a heavyweight black belt gi title, Aaron Tex Jhonson versus Gutenberg Pereira. Gutenberg Pereira is the current champion for the heavyweights. Dude, he is tough to beat, but Tex looks like he's on a tear. Like, Tex is being super active in his run-up to ADCC. He's on fucking everything.
Yeah, just coming off of this, like, really great showing at Kasai, like, man.
Oh, and he's in the gi now. This is a gi bout.
Oh, it's a gi match.
This is
yeah,
a gi
it is.
match.
You're right.
So he's taking on Gutenberg Pereira in the gi.
Yeah, don't sleep on this dude. He is not playing games.
Dude, neither are playing games. So,
yeah.
Dude, this is going to be I'm so amped to go and drive 2 hours to go to Philly on Friday. So, next we have a black belt gi title bout between Patty Fontes and Maisa Bastos. I think we saw Maisa this last weekend, like on Kasai. this is another super high-level match. Dude, this is an awesome card.
Yeah.
Everyone that doesn't live in the Philly area, you missed out.
This black belt, like, card is stacked.
Yeah, this is fight to win, man. Go to more fight to wins. They're great. I'll do a Masters welterweight gi title. Daniel Tavares versus Rafael Formiga Barbosa. We have a 185-pound black belt gi bout. DJ Jackson versus Murillo Santana.
Yeah, really stoked to see this. I did a seminar with Murillo like 3 years ago or something. And I've seen DJ with like the local circuit, just like smashing dudes, and obviously on the world circuit,
And
like
Spider
everybody else.
and everything else. I saw DJ yesterday.
Oh, did you?
At Shogun, yeah. He was at Shogun walking around with Lloyd, and I was like, oh shit, that's DJ Jackson. Look at that.
Yeah.
And that dude is built like a fire hydrant.
He is.
He is impossible to sweep. But, dude, this is a good matchup. I've not seen Murillo on Fight to Win in a minute here. So, this would be a lot of fun. It's at 185, too. So, that should be great. 200-pound black belt no-gi bout. Nick Calvanese versus Tim Williams. Dude, we saw Nick Calvanese last time on the Maryland card and on the Philly card. Yeah. Last time they ran through, and he put on 2 fun as shit matchups versus top competition. So this is really fun. Big fan of watching Nick. 200-pound black belt gi bout. Jay Cox versus Gene Berger. We have a 200-pound no-gi black belt match. Anton Bergs versus John Thor Blank. Dude, back-to-back weeks.
Yeah. Why are so many Kasai guys like, yeah, all right, I'll just jump on it?
Dude, because that's what they do now. Like, we see guys, like, no one's playing that like, oh, I'm going to pick the matchups. Like, you're getting on the next matchup. Like, that's what you do. And I love it because we get to cover guys and see them more frequently on the show.
Yeah.
It's like, we have, 3 guys that we saw this week, or 4 guys we saw in Kasai last week that are on Fight to Win this week. It not only showcases the high level of talent that Fight to Win can bring into, like, a local market like Philly.
Right.
I can drive to that, and I'm going to drive to that and go watch that card. Like, I get to see these huge marquee names in my backyard. Oh, and then Baltimore, with all the assholes that work with us, is the next week after that. Like, it's awesome. I can't wait to preview the Baltimore card. I don't know who from the team we're going to have on that card, but I just have no idea who's going to be on the card.
On Baltimore Fight to Win?
I have no idea who we're going to have on the show that week to cover it.
Oh,
I don't know if Josh is going to be busy, like, oh, I'm cutting weight for Fight to Win because I'm fat. Or, like, he's going to have time to come on the show that we can talk about his matchup.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So, but this card looks amazing.
It does.
We have a 200-pound black belt no-gi bout. 185-pound black belt gi bout. Steven Pyler versus Dom Hoskins. Dude, Dom's on Fight to Wins all up in the East Coast. We have a 185-pound black belt no-gi bout. Give me the name.
Mauro Conte
versus Josh Palmer. We have a 170-pound black belt. Is that the commentator, Josh Palmer?
I don't know.
That would be awesome if he's that hits about what weight he is. I hope that's Josh Palmer.
That'd be sweet.
That would be awesome. We have a 170-pound black belt no-gi bout. Dylan Royce versus Enrique Galarza. Dylan Royce went against JT Torres last time in Philly, and that was a barn burner matchup. So it's cool to see him on the card again. Both Philly cards back to back. We have a 165-pound judo match. Adam Moyerman versus Muhammad Alziri. I want to get more into judo, man, because I know these dudes are like top judokas. I just don't know nearly as much about them. We tried to cover judo when we first started the show, but it became too much.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited as I learn more about these judo guys because they're always amazing. We have a 165-pound black belt gi match. Will Martinez versus Garrett Lange. We have, what's that? How do you say that?
Lavaghi? Guessing.
Not Lange. Garrett Lavaghi. We have a 165-pound black belt no-gi bout. Mike Padilla versus Andrew Cockle. I am amped for this. Mike Padilla put on one of the best matches we've seen versus Wilson Hayes, the last Fight to Win in Philly, and Andrew Cockle is always there looking for the win, looking for the finish. We've covered him a bunch of times on SAGC, on, finishers, I think, and a bunch of other stuff. Like, both these dudes I love covering because they come to push the action. This, I'm guessing, is going to be higher up on the card. Usually they list Fight to Win when you preview it by weight, but both these guys come to bring the action. 155-pound black belt no-gi bout. Pete Shoemaker versus Mike Sanchez. 135-pound black belt gi match. Andre Bernardo versus Aaron Morris. We have a female brown belt welterweight no-gi title. Maggie Ghirandati versus Amanda Levy. This is a match to watch. This is a rematch from the finals of ADCC West Coast Trials. Amanda Levy was able to hit Maggie Ghirandati with like that fall down armbar she does from the standing position. I am excited for this matchup. Maggie has looked amazing on all of her Fight to Win runs. She took the brown belt title from Vanessa as a purple belt, and she's maintained it since getting promoted to brown belt. This will be this is an amazing matchup. This will be dope. We have a brown belt welterweight gi title, Alex Jablong versus Jack Tarkarski. We have give me that name in? Tankersley. From TAC Team. We have a lightweight brown belt no-gi title, John Battle versus Daniel Maria. This is going to be great. We watched John Battle retain the title against Dennis Pressey Jr. last time on Fight to Win Philly. Looked great, really good back control. We've seen John Battle a bunch of times on finishers. We saw him versus Ray De Leon recently. We saw him versus Junior Casio at Subspectrum. Dude, this whole card, this is one of the best cards I've ever seen for Fight to Win. This is amazing. This is absolutely crazy. Next bout, we have a super heavyweight purple belt no-gi title, Nick Rodriguez, who we just saw beat Tyler this week at a black belt match. Purple belt no-gi heavyweight title, Nick Rodriguez versus Walker Madden. That's crazy. We have a female flyweight purple belt no-gi title, Natalie Boss versus Andrea Jordan. I talked to Natalie last time at Fight to Win. Super, super great grappler. This card is amazing. This is one of literally the best cards I've ever seen for Fight to Win. I keep saying that. I might actually take off time off work to go to this earlier to make sure don't miss any of these matchups. There's also Kids and Teens matchup on the card, Purple Belt matchup on the card. It's really the only thing happening next week. So if you miss it, shame on you.
Yeah, if you're on the East Coast, you have no excuse to miss this.
No, seriously. So usually, honestly, we do a bunch of previews, but on our list, actually, that is the only item that we have coming up. Everything else is happening the following week, which is very, very strange. So everyone saw how stacked this card was and didn't create events in the place. So, Austin, that was your first episode on the Grappling Rewind. This was, I lied to you. I told you, I was like, that's an easy week. We got 2 major events. You know, results will be up. It'll be nice and easy. That was a lie.
Yeah, I apologize in advance for like the 5 things I probably say over and over. Probably just like, right, yeah, for sure. Mispronounce a name here and there. That's probably exactly what I'm going to sound like.
It's honestly like I usually cut you off a ton, which is partially a failing on my part.
No, you're the host, man. Like, I'm just here to like add spice to the show. I'm not the meat and potatoes.
I mean, I'm not the meat and potatoes either. So you're getting a shit soup if you think I'm the host.
I mean, it's 3 hours of me talking. That sounds awful. Sorry in advance.
We're 2 hours and 20 minutes in at this point, and I'll probably cut about 10 to 15 seconds out of this recording total that I haven't cut out already. So what'd you think? How was the prep? How was
It was a lot of fun. Maybe not what I expected. I probably didn't need to take as many notes as I did. I mean, they came in handy for sure for matches I didn't really remember right away, but it was good. It was a lot of fun, man.
After about 15 of these shows, it all blends together.
I believe it.
And the notes become super, super important.
I'm sure the notes are probably like very specific. Like at some point, like, oh, I know what I'm going to say, so I'll just write down the thing I'm going to say.
Yeah, or like a lot of times I'll just have like fuck in my notes, and I know exactly what that means. Like, oh man, he just got that armbar. Fuck. Like, it means, oh, this is an amazing armbar that he really cranked very hard. And I can just write that curse word there, and I know exactly what it means.
Provided that you spell it correctly in your notes.
I'm not going to spell it. No. Yeah, Austin had to help me decipher some things in notes this week.
Yeah, if you're listening towards the end, that's me reading like half of people's names. And it's my best guess, too. Maine's like, don't know how to say that. Let me just stare at Austin. Hopefully he pronounces it in time.
Oh, yeah, I threw you under the fire for that one. That was on you.
Yeah.
That was all me throwing you under the bus hard as shit.
That's okay. For any of you who listen to me for the first time this week, hopefully I get asked back because...
Oh, yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Pronunciations are hard.
This was good. And, like, your first episode is always, like, a trial by fire in a big way. It's always, like, we ask, like... We bring... So, basically, the format for how we bring guys on the show is typically... we've known you for a while. I think you're a good analyst. And then other people from the show co-sign, other people that are on the network already, basically Josh, Emil, Ryan, Matt, myself, co-sign that, oh yeah, he's a good analyst. He can speak well. He's a smart guy. And then we ask you on the show.
Man.
And that's pretty much the format. So if you've already passed that criteria for getting on the show, like, we know you're good. It's just teaching you how to talk into a mic. And then, like...
Which I struggled with a bit.
Everyone struggles with it. Listen to the first couple weeks we did with Josh, and like that motherfucker, even 20 episodes in, is yelling into the mic, his moving his head around. I'm having to change levels.
That could probably be like the name of Josh's book, Yelling into the Mic. I feel like Josh is that kind of guy anyway.
That's pretty much what it is, yeah. And it's like me cutting out stuff that Josh says, and like, you're way easier than Josh.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So, definitely been trial by fire, but I really appreciate having you. Good insight. Your notes are good. I appreciate you came with like good notes, and so looking forward to bringing you onto the team. And
awesome, man.
Super happy to like see what other stuff you can bring to the team.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
You said that like it's like me. You don't have to be like nice to me. You can just be like, yeah, I deserve to be here. I earned this spot.
Yikes. All right.
All right. So as always, I am Maine with the Grappling Rewind.
Austin with Grappling Rewind also, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. You usually go like, I'm Austin.
Oh, I'm Austin.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.